Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is the Gentleman's Debate podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone going?
It is myself and Mickey today. We will be... Sam's away, actually. He's at a wedding in Manchester, so have a fun time, Sam.
You'll come back a married man.
No, it's not his own wedding. It's his
I know.
cousin's wedding, I believe. Although it'd be funny if he did turn out to be...
I forget Sam has family because you never see him, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm with the family." I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, you do forget that. I agree.
Yeah.
But today, me and Mickey will be discussing the tumultuous rise of cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin. Now it's cracked through $15,000 per Bitcoin.
I just want to explain it because it like irritates me when people don't really know much about it, but they.
So we'll discuss that,
Yeah.
and also have maybe a mini debate around about whether it's a bubble or maybe whether it's not. So anyone who likes economy or is an economist themselves, you might get irritated by the fact that we just use loads of layman's terms, don't use any technical terms whatsoever. But we're going to try and, for the layman who's seen all the news about Bitcoins, try to explain it for people.
We're talking about the 2008 crash for a bit as well.
Yeah, talk about that crash, and then
a big bubble there.
We'll talk maybe even a little bit of history, my little favourite subject to talk about.
I love history. To be fair, the amount of people that I've met recently that like have history degrees and stuff like that, and just
me.
Yeah,
got history degree.
Start talking to them about it.
And then we'll also obviously be covering the world of MMA. We'll be out going through some MMA news articles, potentially maybe some boxing ones as well. And of course, we're joined by our lovely and esteemed friend Joshua, who's on the video work, on the video stuff, and on our laptop.
Hi guys.
Of at York Video Pro, or York Video Productions as the company's actually known as, rather than by the fucking Twitter handle. For all those ladies and gentlemen who are requiring any videography or photography work in the York/Yorkshire area, please hit up Mr. Joshua Simpson.
Thank you. Also, I go by Josh, not Joshua.
You're going to get Joshua. That's your full name, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
If it's your full name, like, I'm not going to be like, Si is my name. It's Simon. It's like,
it depends. If you were in LA and you chilled out in Venice Beach and just like surfed
hi, I'm Si. It rhymes with hi, so I can't say hi.
Oh, that was a great wave.
Oh, that's brilliant, bro.
That's exhilarating.
Let's go get a pump.
Yeah, but Josh doesn't rhyme with hi.
It's true, but neither does Joshua.
No, so
Joshua.
Safe. Oh, fuck.
But yes, if you do need any of the aforementioned photography, videography work, please hit up our esteemed friend Joshua Simpson. So
he's good. He's great.
Mr. Mickey,
Mr. Simon, it's you and me.
We've had a fun week. Obviously, we've been at work. A little bit of a roundup. I'd like to say a few funny things that happened to me during the week. First one, on my way to the podcast, there was an old lady who had a walking stick.
Yeah.
She was walking with her husband, hand in hand, very cute. On her walking stick, tinsel. All the way down the walking stick.
That's
I was
smart.
like, that's fucking cool. That
That's
is a great idea. You know what the husband was wearing? He was wearing a Rudolph hat. So the nose was hanging like... So it literally looked like Rudolph's head.
That's legit adorable.
That is cute.
That is adorable.
That is really cute. So that's a nice little... For people who want an instantaneous kind of happiness thing. There you go.
Around Christmas last year, when my girlfriend lived in the old house...
Yes.
I was walking over to it and I'd seen one of the managers from my work.
Yeah.
And he was with his family and they were all wearing matching hats.
Oh, that's quite cute.
Cutest
Christmas
thing I've
is...
ever seen.
Christmas is lovely. You know, we will do... I think we've got this podcast, and then we'll do one more,
and then that's before.
And then so that'll be...
Should we do a Christmas jumper episode?
We could do a Christmas jumper episode.
We could show up in Christmas jumpers.
I'm getting a Christmas jumper next weekend from my parents.
I've
already got one.
I've ordered a Christmas jumper. It's amazing.
Is it a Star Wars one by any chance?
It's not.
Oh, you're changing up the game.
I have never, right? I'm going to hold my hands up, ever owned a Christmas jumper. Ever.
Wow.
Ever.
That's
fine. Shocking.
It's because I'm weird. It's because I'm from another country. So we have like different traditions and stuff like that. And it's all like an amalgamation. So people are always confused. They're like, you're from Macedonia? I was like, yeah, but you sound English. I was like, I do.
Put this voice on, man.
I do.
Yes.
I do. Well, no, this is just... You can pick, and I'm great at accents, as we all know from this podcast. I can do accents so well.
Great's the wrong word.
But yeah, we have our Christmas on the 7th of January because we're Christian Orthodox and we have a lot of holidays. And I was at one yesterday, and then I went to the Christmas party with you guys.
So we had a lovely Christmas meal with our friends. It's nice. All three of us went, and obviously the rest of our friends went. There was fucking how many was there? There's like 13 of us.
Yeah, 13.
13 people were all sat round the table.
Yeah, so the 12 apostles, and we did it all Christmassy and stuff like that.
Who's Jesus in our group?
Moi.
Luke.
Your name is closest to Jesus. It's actually, yours is a biblical name, Joshua.
Well, isn't Jesus in Spanish like Joshua or...
It's Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah, in Macedonian it's Isus.
Isus. Interesting. Is that because...
it's Jesus in Spanish.
No, that's Portuguese.
Oh, well, same as Spanish.
Jesus would be Portuguese, and then... Yeah, no, is it? Oh, fuck, I might be wrong there. Portuguese and Spanish people, please write in with the pronunciation of how you say Jesus in your own native tongue, please. Not the English version. Because it's like... Because the Jews, like, they use J's differently. They use like a y sound.
We do the same.
Interesting.
J
like Yahweh. Yahweh.
J is a y in every other country except England. And America, obviously, and anyone who speaks America.
Joshua.
Team America.
Joshua, yeah.
Joshua.
Yeah, you'd be Joshua.
Or Joshua. No, because Portuguese is R's or H's in Portuguese. So, like, the Gracie family are not called Rorian Gracie or Rallick Gracie. They're called Halleck Gracie and Horian Gracie.
Here's something I learned really interesting recently.
Portuguese.
I don't know Portuguese at all. Have you heard the term sapiosexuals before?
Sapiosexual?
Yeah, I was confused. I was like, what is it? So
what the fuck is sapiosexual?
Apparently it's someone that's attracted to intellect.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard something like that.
I was like, at first, I was like, is it, do you like girls? Do you like boys? Do you like someone who doesn't identify? Like,
Sapios just sounds like they like fucking anything that's a human. Like a sapien. Homo sapien.
Yeah, I don't get how they put that together because, like, but then what's the word for intellect? Intersapials.
No, I don't know. It doesn't really roll off the tongue. No, I mean, none of these terms roll off the fucking tongue, do they?
Yeah, no, they don't.
You just like fucking
words
somebody
are just getting more complicated.
You like fucking somebody who's got a big brain.
Pretty much.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's really weird because, like, some people have big brains for certain things.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how big your brain is. It's all about, like, how strong your neural connections are, the connections between your left and right hemispheres, the advancement of your prefrontal cortex, neocortex, all that.
Smooth, Josh.
All that good stuff.
Josh decided to just drop.
Someone can have a really small brain. Like, I've got a very abnormally large head. I got bullied like a mofo in school for it. Like, damn, you've got.
It's not like you're fucking Stewie from Family Guy.
No, it's not like it's not shaped like a football.
It's proportionate to your body.
It is. It's just when I'm sitting down, you can't see the rest of my body, so I'm like a flipping iceberg.
I'm like an iceberg. You're the iceberg. What interesting. That'd be a good like wrestling name, wouldn't it? The iceberg. And then what you do is you have to come in on your knees, and then what you do is when you get into the ring, you jump up. No, okay, that sounds pretty shit. I like how also in the podcast we've all now got nicknames. We've got the Eastern Death.
Yep.
And Discount Bruce Willis.
Yep.
But Sam needs one, and Josh needs one.
Samwise.
No. It's got to come off the cuff. So when it's got to come off the cuff.
Tim Burton's biggest fan.
Tim Burton's biggest fan. Or Sam Worthington's. Although he did apologise to Sam Worthington, so you know.
I seriously doubt Sam Worthington's watching, to be fair.
If he is watching, he needs to go and do something else with his life, because we're not the most important people in the world, are we? We're just three
How do you know?
men that sit around discussing stuff that happens, basically, and kind of maybe have a little bit of a semi-argument.
How do you judge importance? What is, in terms of like the amount you can affect other people, the amount you can...
It's a good point. Like, there are certain... I mean, when you think about it, like, the mobile phone is, for some people, the most important thing on the planet, because it allows you to connect to like people that you barely know. It's just like communicating with people on like Facebook or WhatsApp or stuff like that. You can send photos and videos to put somebody who's on the other side of the planet, and you can have interactions, and people can like your stuff and see stuff.
There's globalization into effect right there.
Yeah, but this item, this piece of steel, aluminium, or plastic and glass that sits on your... You sat on the desk. Like, I picked that up. That was sat on the desk. But like, it sits in your pocket all day. Like, it's always sat there waiting to go ready, and it's immediately there to just be like, here is some gratification. Here is some immediate
Do you know what I thought the other
connection.
day? Like, if you, for example, let's say if we had wireless charging. So I'm not going to get into this like.
Well, we do have wireless charging,
but in terms of, so I'm talking about what Tesla was theorizing, where he thought the entire planet was just basically a massive ass engine.
Wasn't he thinking of trying to put it through radio waves in the sky?
Yeah, to try and actually basically give worldwide energy to everyone.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Nikola? It's Nikola Tesla.
Nikola Tesla, yeah.
Nikola Tesla was in the... Can you just... Josh, could you bring up Nikola Tesla when he was on Wikipedia for us? Like, I like Wikipedia. Even though I'm from I've got a history background, and we were told, you're not allowed to use Wikipedia because it's not reliable. It's mostly reliable.
It works really well if you've got a load of knowledge to kind of like refer it back to, and you look at multiple sources.
You can refine it down.
Because if someone's like my brother went on Wikipedia and said like, put some random ass stuff about him, like he was the third king of the Persians and stuff like that, and it stayed there for like a year.
I would fuck around with Wikipedia if I could, but But Nikola Tesla, what year was he born? Does it say?
1856.
1856, and then he basically rose to prominence in the 1800s, trying to basically develop all the sort of world-changing
transistors, figured out radio waves.
I think he had a dispute with somebody around about electricity.
Edison.
Did he create? Was it AC and Edison?
Alternating currents.
I think Nikola Tesla invented DC, and then Edison invented AC, and basically Edison killed I think Edison to prove that DC was dangerous. He killed an elephant. No, he killed an elephant. So he literally hooked up an elephant to a plate.
That's horrible.
Electrified it with DC, but actually, do you know what happened? He used AC to do it. He just said it was DC.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
That's cold.
Yeah.
To kill an elephant.
This is totally true.
To try and do a lie.
Anyone who thinks that's an exaggeration, that's 100% what happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking insane what Edison was doing, and he also had a massive dispute with.
No, but what are you talking about? He was an innovator. He was
a nasty man.
He was a capitalist. Like
very nasty man. Big womanizer. Womanizer. Yeah. Interesting character was old Edison. But Nikola Tesla, his hypothesis was that you would be able to run anything electrical if he was able to put, the Tesla coils. So if you've ever done GCSE physics, you probably have seen a Tesla coil. But in essence, what it is it's a comb, a metal comb that has a band which passes along the metal comb at speed. So it's like a motorized band, and basically it passes along the comb, and the electrostatic charge, so that the actual transfer of electrons from the band to the comb charges up the top sort of sphere and charges it with electricity, which then you can discharge by touching it or letting it build up enough so it discharges through the air like lightning. So it gives it a
path, basically, because it always wants to get to a state of equilibrium.
So the point, what Nikola Tesla was trying to do is that if you have enough of these, and you have enough of these Tesla coils, and you have them all over the place, and they're big enough, then you would be able to saturate the entire atmosphere with enough electromagnetic
energy,
electrostatic energy, that all of the stuff that your phone would just charge. Like for us now, your phone would charge.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I thought would be really cool. Like if you could, for example, leave your phone, like if you dropped it in the Antarctic, and because it's waterproof, like the new iPhone 8s are and stuff like that.
Yeah,
1,000 years in the future, some person could just pick up the phone and it would still flipping work.
So a cold fucks up batteries really quickly.
But if it was
theoretically, I mean, like they have done it with some time capsules that have audio tapes in it.
Yeah.
So you can pull out an audio tape and it's not fucked up, but that's because it's a physical thing that's had its state changed. Because when it works with an audio tape, basically, you can do it where the magnetic scanner will change the actual stuff on the tape. So like, when the VHS tape.
Yeah.
When you slide it into the actual machine, it has like a magnetic. I can't think of the word, but let's say emitter, which codes onto the tape.
Yeah.
The information to play the actual audio and the video, but then you can go over it again and wipe it, and then put on new stuff. But then over time, it does degrade. So if you keep doing that,
it's also painfully flammable as well. Like film
Can
reels.
be. Yeah, like film reels can be.
They are
Some
so
of them.
flammable.
Well, I mean, for anyone who watched Inglourious Bastards,
Yeah,
there's an example of it.
yeah.
There's some kind of nitrate tape, which is more flammable. It's like 5 times more flammable than paper.
Yeah.
So it's basically a bomb. You're carrying a bomb with you if you got. You're
Yeah,
like,
well, you'd say that, but you need to have compression for a bomb, actually. Because
true,
it
but
would
that's the
need
same
to-
with gunpowder. You need to have it compressed inside
Otherwise,
of a
it'll
barrel.
just
Otherwise,
fizz.
it just.
Nitroglycerin, that thing's lethal.
Here's an interesting thing about nitroglycerin.
Go.
It was accidentally invented.
By Nobel.
So the whole point,
his name?
that he was looking at is it kind of started out with the Haber process. So I'll go back to the
Oh, and
Haber
we can
process.
we can tell everyone why the Nobel Prizes are a thing as well.
Yeah, so the Nobel Prize. I mean, this might be useful also to have Josh Google, Wikipedia the Nobel Prize. What's his first name? Nobel.
Alfred, I think. Alfred Nobel.
If you could just give us a quick search for that, Josh. Thanks.
But I'm not 100% sure. But like basically, the long story short is he found out nitroglycerin was a thing, and then he actually no, I think he was the one that made it into TNT.
Yes,
he
that's
realized
correct.
that if you put it into carbon,
He made
it makes it a lot more
dynamite,
stable.
and he made gelinite,
And he made a lot of money from that.
Yeah, but he also was
lot of money.
he was also heavily criticised as a war criminal.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Everyone thought he died, and they wrote an obituary about him. And then he actually saw it, and it just said, "The Merchant of Death is dead."
Yeah.
You know, and it was really horrible. So imagine if you thought you died, and then people wrote horrible things about you, and he felt so bad that he created the Nobel Prize, which was to celebrate human achievement. And that was going to be his legacy when he did die. So he put a massive fund together, and then that's why the Nobel Prize.
I think you get £1 million.
Yeah.
Or $1 million.
That'll keep going. He put so much money in it that it basically, with compound interest, it can afford to keep giving out millions, and then
I think they do charitable. I think they earn money as well off the back of it as well.
Yeah.
It's actually been going since 1895.
1895.
Alfred Nobel.
Yeah.
Alfred Nobel. Well done. Good guess.
Nobel.
But that was it's an interesting thing because basically nitroglycerine, I think, was discovered and they tried using it for mining, but it's exceptionally unstable. It can detonate off of friction. It can detonate off of a small electric charge. It can detonate if you give it enough kinetic energy.
Yeah, that dam, what was it? The Colorado Dam, is it? The Colorado?
Oh God, I don't know which one.
From the Grand Canyon, that massive ass dam.
I can't remember. Sorry.
So that was actually, they used nitroglycerin to start with that, and the amount of people that died, because you've got these jars, right? And imagine you're carrying something. If you drop it, you're dead. Well, or even if you drop
pick it up.
like-
So if I picked it up, for people on the video who can see this, obviously, if this is a glass I'm holding. If I took this glass and it's full of nitroglycerin
And you
I
shook
just
it.
shook it,
Yeah.
it would detonate. And because if it was full, this whole floor probably would be completely
it's
decimated.
ridiculously powerful. There's so much energy stored in nitroglycerin.
So what he did was he mixed it with
Carbon.
It was sawdust for dynamite. So he mixed it with sawdust.
and coal.
And then gelin and putty. So it's like wood putty and sawdust.
Yeah.
Was mixed with the nitroglycerine, and then you'd have your standard wick that was stuck inside of it, which was basically like a black powder wick.
Yeah, and it just made it a lot more manageable.
Made it a lot more stable. Problem is, it would sweat. So in exceptional heat, the nitroglycerin would sweat out of the sawdust because the sawdust acts like a sponge and holds it in position.
I see.
So then he invented something called gelinite. So gelinite is basically it's a jelly which has the nitroglycerine inside of it.
Yeah, and it's not.
And then you can basically mold it round whatever you need to.
So that's where,
more stable.
Is that kind of like where C4 came from? Or am I completely
that was
jumping
the
off?
development of C4. So nitroglycerine is a high explosive. And then what they did was they eventually with C4 they were able to develop it further. It doesn't use nitroglycerine. It uses something else, and I've forgotten what the fucking compound is, which is annoying. But basically, it is so stable that you can take a block of C4 and throw it into a fire. It will not detonate. It will only detonate once a detonator is put in and the detonator is activated.
Wow.
So you could shoot it. You can shoot it. You can throw it. You can burn it. You can use it to actually survive.
Well, it's like nuclear weapons. The only way it'll work is if there's a controlled fission reaction. Otherwise, it won't. You can shoot it. You can do anything.
You have to start the
Which was the hardest thing. The hardest thing was actually creating the right detonation.
Would you like to know how they did the Hiroshima bomb?
Yeah, go on.
So this is a documentary I watched where they talked about how the invention of the nuclear bomb worked.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally the most low-tech thing you've ever heard in your fucking life.
Yeah.
If we knew about this back even during when the first guns were invented, so the Chinese invented the first guns, cannon.
We didn't have the infrastructure.
If we had the refined stuff then, we could have done it back then. So basically what they did was it was a spherical casing with a bomb casing around it. So it's a spherical light, and there was 2 cannons basically
points of
at
entry,
each other.
yeah.
One had uranium and one had plutonium.
Yeah.
And what would happen is it would shoot the 2 together with enough of high explosives at either end so that they would shoot together. And when they collided with each other, it would start the fission reaction. So that would be plutonium and uranium would collide together, and they'd start the fission reaction.
Yeah, because uranium's heavy, so it would draw all the electrons in itself. Like, I'm a bit fuzzy this morning on nuclear fission, but
well, we're just talking about it from a gentleman's perspective. We're not talking about it from a scientist's perspective.
This is all bro science, to be fair. So we're just kind of like speculative.
Yes, so
we don't
put
really
a disclaimer. We are putting a disclaimer. This is not us.
We are not nuclear physicists.
But the cannon thing. The most dangerous bit about it was apparently when they had to fly, when they had to go up, they had to take the pins out.
Oh wow!
So you had to take the pins out to go.
Yeah.
And basically what happened is if that plane had crashed on, and that was super common by the way during World War II for planes to crash. That plane that they used crashed quite often on takeoff and landing.
Oh wow!
So if it had crashed, that nuclear bomb would have detonated there.
The thing is, though, at the time when they were dropping the bombs, they wouldn't have realized. Like, imagine you're there, you're a pilot. No one has ever seen a nuclear detonation go off. Like, very few people. Like, I think there was a test before they did it.
They did one test. Maybe they did 2 tests.
And you see an entire city disintegrate. You'd be like, "Holy mother of! What have I just done?" That would live with you forever. Like 140,000 people down in Hiroshima. Ridiculous.
No, it wasn't. I think there was the 140,000 people there, but 40,000 were instantaneously killed.
It's crazy. It's like that showed the world the level of.
And then they did Nagasaki straight after. Yeah. Because the Japanese didn't instantly surrender.
And that created the story of the unluckiest man in the world who went to Hiroshima, got bombed, took a train to Nagasaki, got bombed again. He's like, he thought the world. He thought the world was ending.
That's fair enough.
He actually died of old age, or I think he's still about. I can't remember, but
it's interesting. Like that's a weird place. You can go to Hiroshima. You can look at what happened because they've kept a lot of the city as it was, or they kept some of the city as a memorial to it. Yeah, because most of the radiation has died down now.
Yeah, nuclear. What's the word? Nuclear power plants take a lot longer than nuclear.
The reason why is because when we use a weaponized version of it, it's refined. Yeah. So it expends all because the point of a bomb is you want to use as little material as possible for the most effect possible.
Yeah.
So when you detonate it, you want it to expend all its energy and not have any left over. So after about 5 to 10 years for a nuclear weapon, you can return back to the place. But when it comes to fucking reactors, the quantity of unrefined nuclear material is so horrendous. You can't go back there for what's it called? The one in Chernobyl. You can't go back there for 2,000 years.
20.
I thought it was 2,000.
20,000 years.
Google, Josh.
So
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl won't be livable. So basically, nuclear fallout has a half-life. So every certain amount of time, it halves in the energy output and the distortion of the gamma rays.
If you got this, let's do it in grams. So if you got 100 grams of radioactive uranium, so it is kicking out radiation that will kill people. A half-life is the measurement of time it goes to 50 grams, or half of its weight.
So the half-life is between 180 to 320 years?
For uranium?
Apparently, yeah.
So is that to do with... but what's Chernobyl's... Could you just check Chernobyl when we can go back to Chernobyl?
When will Chernobyl be habitable?
Yeah.
Have you seen the wolves in Chernobyl? And they've got this radioactive fungi now, like these mushrooms that basically absorb radioactive energy. It's the weirdest thing. They're massive.
Well, we've got weird things on the planet,
it basically puts evolution into overdrive. All it does is basically create the number of errors because everyone replicates their genetic code
too fast.
Yeah, so it just makes it like there's so many flaws. So there's so many like weird ass creatures that get made of it, but every now and again, like apex predators come out of it. Really, it's like it basically says evolution. I'm going to give you steroids.
Yeah,
and then it kind of it's scary because if the entire planet was radiated, this life on the Earth would be so much different. It would be weird.
Do we find out, Josh?
Yeah. So it says the half-life for cesium was originally thought to be about 30 years.
Yeah.
But it's at least 5 times more than that. So
2,000.
180 to.
I thought it was 2,000 years. We couldn't go back to there. Is it just saying the cesium that was in there?
Yeah.
It's
Just
not
put
saying
what-
the actual.
Have you put when can we live in? When will Chernobyl be habitable again?
No.
Could you just check it? When can we inhabit Chernobyl again?
I'm certain it was
specific
like
Google.
20,000 years, but
I thought it's 2,000 or 3,000.
more than that. Like
It's
gamma
insane.
radiation is
It's
annoying. It just sticks
You
around.
know, that's not the fucker that can fuck you up. Gamma. It's the other ones, alpha and beta. Because different types of radiation. Because gamma's not very ionizing, so that it doesn't do damage. So
it doesn't transfer its power very well.
Yeah, so
it
basically,
transfer its
gamma
energy.
radiation is the stuff that we get from the sun.
No,
So it can
isn't
go,
it?
as in the light can travel that vast distance because it doesn't expend energy, whilst alpha and beta expend their energy very easily, so they can transfer energy a lot better. Josh?
I'm pretty sure I cock up at least once every podcast because it's
What?
saying 3,000 years.
3,000 years?
Yep.
Hey!
Okay, my bad.
I did say 3,000
Good
years.
shout.
You
Still,
can't inhabit.
that's-
You cannot inhabit that place for 3,000 years since the
Yeah, you
incident.
can actually go visit there, but you just can't live there.
You can't go. You have to go through. You can't stop.
Well,
So the guys from
do you
Top
see
Gear,
Top Gear? Yeah,
the guys from Top Gear went through there. You literally, you have to keep going because if you stop there for too long, because what you do is you wear these they're like
Geiger
octagons.
counters.
They're like octagon things that are on you, which basically will turn black. So it's like a color changing thing. And if they turn black, you've been exposed to deadly radiation. So
Well-
if it goes any black, you need to leave where you are right there and then.
Wow.
And everybody who goes onto nuclear power plants or anybody who works at any form of nuclear radiation whatsoever wears one of those. And if it goes black, you
So
are.
it's
if
basically
all
like
black,
it's
you're
like a little
dead.
like signal that's like you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead, by the way.
Literally, you know, like remember they used to do the thing of the black hand. There was a
hell.
pirate thing where they would paint a black hand into your. They paint a black spot into your hand
Uh-huh.
as a sign for death. You're marked for death, basically.
Ah.
It's weird that we
I thought it was the
associate
white
that.
hand, but I'm thinking about the Urukai there.
Yeah, you are thinking about the Lord of the Rings Urukai. The way they put the flipping hand, the
Yeah.
white hand paint on each other's
Yeah,
heads.
either that or Wilson, like one of the two.
Wilson! Yeah. Fucking, how good was that film? That was amazing.
I love that film.
was.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is just like my favorite actor.
beast.
I've decided he's my favorite.
Think about
actor.
it. Like, he's done everything from voice acting to comedy. I think he used to do stand-up comedy.
Oh, what was it? The one with where he's a child and he grows up.
Yeah, you've got
was really
that.
good.
You've got the Saving Private Ryan, where he
You've
plays
got
like a really
Forrest Gump,
gritty
one
character.
of my favorite films ever.
Man, Tom Hanks is a fucking amazing actor.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude as well.
But
Apparently,
he doesn't even make that much money compared to like the guys
Toy
nowadays.
Story, man. Don't forget. Toy
Yeah, voice
Story.
act. That's what I said. Voice acting.
Oh,
He's
Toy
one of the-
Story.
He's one of the best voice actors going.
My childhood.
I think he's going to be the new Morgan Freeman, where he basically does all the intros to every documentary and film on the planet. Seriously, because Morgan Freeman will eventually die.
He has
He won't look
narrated a
different.
few.
Well, have you seen Z Frank? He sounds just like Morgan Freeman. He's like a guy. Have you seen that one
Z
with like?
or Zed, Frank? 'Cause we're British and we say Zed. We're not American.
He's not got a D in it. Z Frank 1 is his YouTube channel.
Yeah, but people say like Day Z and it's Day Z, and it pisses me off.
No, Z. Z.
Z-E-E. That's what it's spelled.
Z Frank.
Z Frank.
Is Z Frank. And he's like the amazing facts about the duck.
About the duck.
Yes, it's actually
Ducks are weird.
Ducks are horrible. I'm
Ducks
not
are
going to get into
terrible.
what ducks do because just watch the video.
You know
Z
how
Frank.
we're in a climate of where you need to ask permission, you need to have consent. Ducks don't give a fuck about that. They don't care.
Oh, what are you
Ducks.
talking about? Gang rape with ducks?
Yeah, ducks.
Yeah, that's
they
the thing.
just-
Why did we get on this subject? But yeah,
Ducks just
corkscrew penises.
giant penises.
Yeah,
They're designed-
9-inch.
It's scary.
the biggest of any amphibian.
They're not amphibians.
Yeah, they are.
They're birds, mate. Amphibians are.
They can go on land and water.
That's not what an amphibian is. Amphibians are like frogs.
Well, I was certain that ducks also fell into that. I
No,
know what an amphibian is, like a platypus and like
No, they're mammals.
like
so
a-
a
like
platypus is a mammal, mate.
a crocodile.
I don't know whether. Yeah, that should be an amphibian. Because amphibian doesn't meet. So amphibian. I know what you're thinking. So amphibian is the transition between water and land, but like a salamander and a frog are, but a platypus isn't because that's a mammal, and a duck isn't because it's a bird. Even though they live in water mostly.
But they can also go on land.
Yeah, but they're not. So they are amphibious, but they're not an amphibian because amphibian is like a subset of a lizard.
Did not know that. I thought amphibians were basically where you can basically survive.
So they're
in
amphibious,
either
like a
environment.
car. Like you have an amphibious car, but it's a car.
Well, that's the thing. But
That makes sense?
This is where I'm getting the conclusion because an amphibious car just means it can go on land and water.
Yeah, so but it's amphibious, not amphibi. It's not an amphibian.
Oh, so I should have said amphibious. Ducks are amphibious.
Ducks are amphibious.
Ah, so it was more of a word tongue twister. That's fair enough.
Yeah, it's just stupid. I mean, English has got so many stupid different ways of conveying information.
It really does. Like it's
because then it's
very descriptive.
All the words, but then you've got the how we can we take words and contract them. So they are turns to there, but there is there over there. So hang on, I've used the same fucking word twice, but it means two different things. So I made the same sound with my face, but it means two different things.
People actually English is a really hard language to learn for that reason. Like a lot of people struggle with it, but you go anywhere around the world and people speak English. It's amazing.
Well, it's interesting because it's now. I mean, it used to be French because French used to be the international language during like post World War I. So they used to be the universal.
Well, they had
language.
an empire in the 1800s, so they kind of like.
Yes, and I think I did cover. Did you watch that Vietnam documentary, by the way?
I haven't.
You need to fucking watch that Vietnam documentary. For anyone who wants to know anything about the Vietnam War, from like, because most people will mention it in your lifetime, and if you're young, you don't know anything. You know very little. But
I don't know. Have you talked
generation,
to people nowadays that they don't really talk about the Vietnam War?
No, they don't. But it's a very pivotal thing in American society and the rest of the world society. Because the Vietnam War, and the documentary you need to watch it's a BBC documentary. It's usually on BBC 4, BBC 2, like those sort of channels. Just go and search for it, and it is the Vietnam War, and it is a brilliant dissection of each individual part of and the It's not in technically. It's kind of in chronology, but it leaps forwards and backwards to show how you get to that step in the chronology. So it's like, oh, there's the Tet Offensive. And they go back to the guy who created the Tet Offensive and how he started and the background.
I watched a lot of yesterday, and they employ some tactics, war tactics that they learn from other wars and stuff like that.
It's insane. Like the Vietnamese
Operation Desert Storm, which is Blitzkrieg, basically reimagined and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. But the Vietnamese are some of the nicest people. They literally were just like, well, we hate anyone who's foreign, any foreigners that invade our country. We hate. We don't care who they are, and they've always been like that.
That was the biggest mess up thing. Is they went in against the country where they didn't have the popular the public opinion. The public opinion then was very low.
The French didn't. The Americans didn't. China tried invading Vietnam way back when. Like really
didn't work.
Did not fuck.
China tried to invade Japan, and actually a massive storm just wiped them out.
No, so that wasn't China that did that. That was.
Was it the other way around? That was Japan.
No, it was one of the Khan. So like the Mongols.
Genghis, Bhutan.
No, it wasn't Genghis. It was. It wasn't Kublai. Could you Google the Mongol invasion of Japan, please, for us? I can't remember which one it was.
What time period are we talking? Because I always forget the 1300s. I think the Golden Horde came to Novgorod and went to Russia.
So Kublai was around when the Crusades happened.
Yeah, so 1300s.
So 13, because the Crusades actually started. So the Crusade was called. So the Crusade.
The first Crusade.
The first Crusade was called, I believe, because I've done this in fucking my history degree and it's annoying me. I don't remember the date. It was called Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan called it. He was the one who actually tried to invade Japan. Is that the one that? Because there's a word that I'll use which is very interesting that happened, but basically. The Mongols were going to try and invade Japan. They were sailing over from the sea the Sea of Japan that separates the two.
Yeah,
and then a
South China Sea.
Divine wind came and
wiped them out.
It's a typhoon.
Yeah.
And do you know what the Japanese call that?
No.
Kamikaze.
No
That's
way.
Divine wind. And for people who have just heard the word kamikaze and know what that means, it's quite a chilling word. For people who don't know what that word is, kamikaze is the term for the suicide pilots that the Japanese employed during the later stage of World War II, when they were fighting the Americans, where they would take the planes that they flew and would deliberately crash them.
That's fascinating. I've watched a documentary about that.
So they were called Divine Wind, and they had a massive religious ceremony where they were sent off, and some of the time they weren't given any armaments, no bombs. They literally just flew the plane.
They were decoys.
Some
without
were
torpedoes, yeah.
So some of the kamikaze pilots were decoys for actual
Japanese
pilots.
culture in general is fascinating, though.
It was
all about honor to the family, and it was all.
It got revolutionary change by the Americans. So the Americans were just this fucking
You say that,
steamroller.
but people like Japan's got one of the highest suicide rates in the world, and they stipulate that one of the main reasons behind it is people do not want to upset their family or cause any sort of shame or anything in that regard. So they just keep working until they drop. Their birth rate's 1.2 4.7 or 1 point. It's ridiculous. One of the lowest in the westernized world, which means
weird.
that
But even though they're
going to lose 50 million people in the next 30 years.
It's so strange. Did we get any? Did I ask you for any more Google stuff or not? Oh, thank you. Could you? I just wanted because I want to remember this date for myself. It was when was the First Crusade?
I keep thinking 1100s, but I'm wrong.
It was by I know it was by Pope Urban, but I can't remember if it's Pope Urban the first or second. Urban is in how you normally spell urban.
Was Charlemagne 1840?
No, way later. Sorry, way earlier. Sorry, way earlier. As in 840. I thought you said 18.
814.
Oh god.
So it was Pope Urban II.
Oh yes.
And it was 1095.
1095 was the First Crusade.
I said 1100s. I wasn't off. 1095.
1095 was when the First Crusade was called.
I keep getting confused. I think King Richard came a bit later.
Way later.
Yeah,
way later.
1300s.
1200, 1300. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that First Crusade, fuck me, that was insane. I did the entire fucking module about this. I wrote an essay about it.
Well, it's what united Christianity. Ooh. A lot of people say it was like a response to Islam. It was just after the Black Plague and all that
what
jazz.
Pope Urban II realised was that the problem with the European countries of Christendom was that they were just fighting each other.
Yeah.
And they were just killing each other. And he was like, well, we've just lost. He wanted to unite the entire of Christendom in the West together so that he would
unified
have control.
Cause under belief.
But he wanted the control of it. But all he wanted to do was he wanted all the warriors, so all the knights from the Western Europe states to go over and fight in the crusade.
So they won't be fighting each other.
But he was too effective in his message. So he called a council of it was some council of it was a French city. Could you find out what that? Because it should be on the same thing.
Oh, was it? No, it wasn't.
He literally called it in a French town, and can't remember. My stupid brain is not up to the Council of Clermont. Clermont. Oh, that's actually a really nice French town, by the way. So he called that, and he basically called in all the kings and all the lords and knights of Western Europe. I don't believe anybody from Britain was there.
Yeah.
And what happened was, he said, I want us to take back the Holy Land, even though the Holy Land had been lost for fucking decades before. And basically what happened was that there had been a separation in Christendom between the West and the East. So the East is now referred to now
Byzantium Empire,
but it's now the Orthodox.
Yeah.
Is it Orthodox Christian? Or
I'm Christian Orthodox.
Christian Orthodox.
So it was Catholics and Christian Orthodox that kind of splintered because of after the Roman Empire fell.
Yeah, so that's why you have Roman Catholics.
Two seats of power.
So you have Roman Catholics, and then you have Orthodox Christians, which are in essence almost identical.
Yeah, but just slight change, like
very, very slight changes to it. And basically, what had happened is the Byzantine Empire was being hammered by different sects of this Islamic
picked
world.
Constantinople, which was literally like surrounded. You had the Persians on one side. You had
Turks as well. The Seljuk Turks.
Yeah, the Turks. They were the ones that they actually ended up. I don't know if they.
Yeah, the Seljuks took power. So they took control of.
Yeah, I don't know if they figured out cannons or something along those lines.
Yeah, so when they invaded
because they had to because Istanbul, modern day Istanbul, which is what everyone.
It was a fortress.
It was a massive ass fortress, and it was on a peninsula, so it was surrounded on three sides by water, and it was
like the castle here at York.
Yeah, so it was really hard to actually get anywhere near it, and it was like kind of like the connection between East and West, and unless you wanted to go in Russia, no one wanted to fuck with them back then because they're fucking.
Yeah, well, some people did. Some people did fuck with Russia.
Well, the thing about Russia is the reason why they're so big, people say, is because Moscow lies in vast flatlands.
Yeah,
and you could actually get to Russia from every side if you wanted to.
You mean Moscow?
Yeah,
to Moscow
to Moscow. So they needed to become extremely warlike and extremely defensive, and actually use their actual size to stop them actually getting taken out. Because Moscow was kind of like the heart.
So. It didn't used to be.
It used to be St. Petersburg.
St. Petersburg used to be. And St. Petersburg is all the way in the fucking north of the country, so it's freezing cold most of the time.
Yeah, that's why it started with Novgorod.
It's exceptionally difficult to get all the way to St. Petersburg. The easy way to get to St. Petersburg was by ship. So, back when, during First World War, when the Russian Empire collapsed due to the Russian Revolution...
Yep.
That's why the Allies, during World War I, so they were fighting the Germans, the Austrians, and the other supporters of that Triple Alliance. The Americans, British, and French, during World War I, went, you know what, we're doing good here on the Western Front, but Russia's collapsed. So what we're going to do is, we're going to send an invasion fleet a full invasion fleet to invade from the north and from the south to try and support the White Russians who were left after the revolution and try to seize back control to stop Russia falling to communism.
Yeah.
So they managed to launch an entire naval campaign. So they effectively were fighting two wars. They were fighting against the German Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah.
And they were fighting against the remnants of the Russian Empire or the Russian Communist
Russia
Party.
got a shorthand. Like, first they had that
insane.
massive revolution where like 20 million, 40 million people died or something ridiculous. Then they had straight away World War...
We had World War One, which was horrifically dreadful. They weren't prepared for it whatsoever.
No.
They were 100% were not. What it proved to me when I was doing my degree, was that Germany has always been prepared for war since its almost inception. Since the inception.
The thing is, there's something weird happened in Germany. I keep asking people in history, like, what happened in the 1800s with
it was their time. It's like the Italians. So when the Italians unified their country, they were a force to be reckoned with.
It was like the Holy Roman Empire, and then it just went.
Here's an example of when the Roman states. Sorry, so when the Italian states were reunified.
Yeah.
Here's an example of how far that penetrated. Garibaldi. Have you ever heard of Garibaldi biscuits?
No.
So the leader of the Italian Unification Party, who unified all of it, was called Garibaldi. So and also there's a statue of one of the leaders of the Italian kind of unification. I don't know if it was Garibaldi. It might have been. He has a statue in, I believe, Nottingham Forest, and that's why the Nottingham Forest football team, play in red. Because he wore his unification party wore red.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because loads of Italians apparently moved to Nottingham.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of Italians emigrated to Nottingham after. I think it was after World War One or World War Two. I'm not sure, but that's the reason why. So it's so weird. History just penetrates through this, and it's like
all connected. Like if you keep following the dots, everything has like a cause and effect, and everything's like
it's like what I say is it's like a lace and it's a shoe, like a lace that goes in your shoe.
Yeah,
it just comes back in and out.
Yeah,
it's not always there, but like events kind of circle together. It's like...
And there's so many similarities. That's what people say history keeps repeating itself.
World War I and World War II is almost identical. The Wall Street crash and what we had with the economic depression we had recently.
The Great Depression. Well, no, the Great Depression was more... It was just after World War I, so that's different. But yeah.
But they were almost the same. When you look at the two financially, you literally could see that they were almost the same. Financially, the
08 crash though,
400
billion was wiped off just the UK's
they say the equivalent,
GDP.
They say the equivalent amount, so you know obviously that with inflation that our currency is different in value than what it was previously. Mm-hmm. But they say that was this of almost the exact same figure to, I think, almost to the $100,000 was almost the same figure.
Really?
That's an insane close amount. I mean, when you think about how much trillions were wiped off of the stock market.
This is what I think about capitalism.
Or whatever it was.
Imagine a heartbeat. This is the way I see it. And it's basically like pulsating. So it grows, it becomes too burdened under its own stress. Bubbles get created. Those bubbles then burst, and it just contracts within itself. And it's like having like imagine a ball with like loads of really strong bits on it, but also really flimsy bits. And whenever you shake it, the bits that aren't really done right, the companies that aren't really that efficient get shaken off it.
I like how you went from heart to a ball with weird things on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
know about that metaphor. It's weird. It's like
having a tree, but there's some dead branches on it. And every now and again it gets shaken.
But then the dead branches all fall off, and then everybody who's been betting on how many fucking leaves there are on the tree, which is what stock exchange work is,
they all freak out.
They all fucking freak out and go, "Fuck, we got to sell everything."
And then it crashes the entire world.
And then everyone else goes, "Fuck, we better sell as well because these guys are."
That's how strongly we are connected in today's modern society. Like globalization, I think, is a real big thing that will go forward in the future.
It's good and bad.
Yeah. So if something happens in another country, if their economy is big enough, it will affect us greatly.
Well, we have so in Britain we have a special relationship with America. We always have had a special relationship with America since it seceded from us.
Yeah.
Basically, almost instantaneously. For example. We wanted to. I think we actually we were sending armaments to the Confederates during the American Civil War.
Really? I've heard about that.
So Britain were sending armaments to the Confederates to try and help them overthrow it, so that they would split. So that the US would split again. It'd be all split up into its different colonies.
So easier to conquer.
So it'd be easier for us to take them out. Which is a fucking scary thing when you think about it.
The thing is that America got, like, you look at the land they have there, they've got 50 trillion in natural resources at the moment, estimates. They've got vast amounts of rivers, farmland.
Public land is the main one, I'd say. The public land. So in America, Teddy Roosevelt, or Theodore Roosevelt, the president of the United States,
public parks and stuff like that.
He loved hunting.
He decided that every now and again he'd go off for a month
he
and
disappeared.
just go into like the wilderness.
He basically took a very hands-off approach when it came to the country. He said, I'm only here for fucking disastrous shit. So a war or natural disasters. I'm not here to micromanage tax. I don't give a fuck about tax. So what he did was he just went for a month. He would go away and he'd hunt, and he was a big game hunter. He loved game hunting.
The thing is, you connect back to nature then, and you actually don't become like in this echo chamber.
But he became disconnected. He would deliberately disconnect himself as the head of the entire US system, and allow it to just self-regulate itself. And that's where a lot of people in America bang on about small government. You know that you hear the term small government.
You know what? I actually think there's a lot of future in that. If you see the way Switzerland's governed, it's governed by six different.
How's that work?
It's governed by 6 different heads of.
And look how much money is in that fucking country. And look how happy everyone is in Switzerland.
They've got a lot of things right, but basically they've got all these municipalities. They elect 6 people, and then within those 6 people, one of them is president, and then that differentiates. Every single province has a different tax rate.
Really?
Yeah, they've all. So what happens
different tax rate per different municipality.
They choose their own tax rates and stuff like that. So they've created a little echo chamber where provinces have to compete with themselves.
Interesting. And that's good. I like that.
So what happens is it's the word that I use religiously. It decentralizes power. So it basically puts more. What's the word?
Onus.
Yeah, more kind of like for the people. It's not like the government did this and the government did that. It's like you literally. There's about 2,000 people in your province.
Yeah.
Your say actually counts a lot. You could literally go up to the head of your province. He will then go up to one of the 6 people that are in charge.
Yeah.
So you can basically have such a small window to actually cause amount of change.
So it's representation through. So it's an interesting way of doing this. Unlike how they do in other countries and states that are like republics and stuff, they try and congregate everybody together and then try and have representatives of each state, which then will then seat and then they report into the main president, prime minister, etc. That's an interesting way of doing it. In fact, there's only 6, but then it's split, and then each one has separate stuff, so they all compete against each other. So it recognizes that we are all of a tribal system. Yeah. We're all, I'm of this principality or municipality. Sorry, I'm of this one. I'm of the eastern. I'm of the west.
They've got a lot of like friendly competition and stuff like that.
But it's friendly competition.
Yeah, it's friendly. It's not
they
like
recognise the competition, but it's for the betterment of the state.
Yeah,
and that's the problem I have with other systems like National Socialism or communism. Is that there's no breeding of competition. It's that you're not competing because everybody's treated the same. So you're all treated. You're tarred.
This is why I'm more into market socialism.
I love that simplicity because it's quite simplistic. If that, my town is part of this municipality. This municipality has different tax and it has different strengths.
It actually has different laws within. Like there's like core laws that everyone has to follow. But within that, there's like different. Like it's kind of like you've got your own bit. You look after this. You keep your people happy in your area. And it's not like this thing in America where it's like 320 million people are basically governed by... So, like, it's
one guy. It's 320 million is governed by one man or woman, I should say.
How does that work? How can 320 million... How can one person think for 320 million people? You've got different social classes, different cultures, different fucking...
Why isn't there more of a like they did with the Roman Senate, where there literally was a Senate who would decide all of this? So they'd all sit.
Well, they have that with the Congress, but then you've got gerrymandering and just the most amount of corrupt bullshit.
But the problem you've got is you've got one guy that then goes, okay, so we're going to all agree now that the tax reforms for building houses is this amount. You have one person, one singular person. There's not. So in times of crisis and war, the Roman Senate would appoint one person to lead the country, but it was a decision that the Senate took together. Mm-hmm. Now, it kind of worked.
Caesar.
But the issue you've got is that... So the system we've got now, it's a bit difficult, and it's not representative, in my opinion, of how it should be. Because nowadays, the technology that we have... So your phone, going back to what I was saying earlier, your phone, your government should be able to override whatever the fuck you're doing on your phone, and it just goes, okay, we're all going to vote on should we increase taxes on building houses. we're all going to do it now, and you shut everybody down.
I literally had an idea for a company for that, because I thought that was a very good way of doing it, where people are literally linked into it. So a lot of people now can say, oh, well, this is what's happening. Why am I not getting money? Why am I not this? I've actually looked into it, and this information is available. You know, we take 680 billion a year in taxes, and then it tells you it goes here, 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 here. For you to just, it's like, I'm not going to use that analogy, but it's like you just going, I want that, not knowing your parents are like, right, we need to do this, we need to go here, we need to go there.
Yeah.
The system's corrupt in itself, and there's ways that it's manufactured to screw people. I'm not going to deny that, but in general,
well, capitalism is designed.
Get involved in it. Start actually doing stuff in it. It kind of annoys me when young people are like, I don't vote because I don't believe in anything.
That pisses me off.
And I'm like,
that really
you're not going to get listened to, because people won't care about what you say, because they know that they don't have to win your votes because you don't vote in general. So they're going to just keep putting you by the wayside.
Exactly.
What is it, 40% of young people in the UK vote or something like that?
So it changed recently, where we had Brexit, which was interesting.
To be fair, we've been kicked into shape recently with Brexit.
And then what happened was basically everybody got a fucking shock, and all young people then a proportion of young people realised, actually, we do need to vote. Our vote matters, because we just left the European Union. So then what happened was, when they had the general election, the Conservative government lost their majority, and they had to rely on the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland.
That was an absolute...
So,
yeah.
and to be honest, in Brexit talks now, the DUP, which is the abbreviation of the
Stopping
Democratic Unionist Party, are the ones who are stopping a lot of the talks, and it's causing a shift in power in Northern Ireland. So the Northern Irish Assembly is meant to be a power share between
we're going to get the
IRA
Unionist
Party and the Sinn Féin Party. So they're meant to work together for the betterment of the state of Northern Ireland.
But there's a power differential there.
But then what happened was the Conservatives, to buy favour with the DUP, went, well, here's a fucking shit ton of money. There you go. And basically then Sinn Féin went, fuck you, we're not working with you guys. You got way too much power because you're in bed with the Conservatives, and you've got all the fucking money now. So then Sinn Féin went, that's it, we're not working with you. So now the existing leader, or First Minister,
things are just going bad for worse.
Northern Ireland had to resign. The coalition fell apart. They missed the deadline to bring the government back together. So the state of Northern Ireland isn't actually working properly. So there's no bills and legal stuff isn't going through. So they can't sit for high legal cases. So now they're trying to get it back together. They've kind of got a deal hobbled together. But then, just so the DUP can stick the knife in back to the Conservatives for some reason, because they're going to shit on the fucking the hand that gives, as in, you just gave us a shit ton of money and made us a significant party. They go, you know what, Brexit, well, we're a bit worried about the fact that we have to share a border with the Republic of Ireland, because that's actually a state that we have, that's part of the European Union, that we have a physical connection with. Yeah. And they're like, well, we want a soft border between the two, so that the law between the two is almost identical, so you don't have to go through loads of immigration, and you have to get visas to go there, etc. But the problem is, you've got people who are in the Brexit campaign, or the Leave campaign, who want a hard Brexit, who want us to be nothing associated with the European Union whatsoever. We don't want any of their laws. We don't want their Supreme Court telling us what to do.
That's just being, I'm sorry, but that's being completely exclusive, and in terms of just they're our neighbours, we need to trade with them, we need to
100%. And
we're just going to be with ourselves and we're going to be great. No, you're bloody not. At the end of the day,
we tried making this is the stupidity of our system.
I'm an economist. The amount of money we stand to lose from leaving Brexit is mind-boggling.
Well, we're going to have to pay a divorce bill between 35 billion and 40 billion.
That's Trump change. That is literally Trump change based off
Trump or Chump. It could be Trump change as well, to be honest, because
compared to the amount of money we stand to lose, the amount the pound is devalued against the euro, it's between 500 to 600 billion. The amount of money, the amount less our money's worth. The amount less.
It's ridiculous. Our fucking.
We're gonna say no, but it's fine. We're gonna save 300 million a week, though.
Oh, so here's something I worked out recently. You know this divorce bill, we have to pay 35 billion. You know how we were going to save on the buses on the Brexit campaign, saying if we leave the EU, we'll put 350
million pounds. Did you know that
60
million was coming back to us?
We'll put 350 million pounds into the NHS, and then they obviously pulled that back and said, "Oh, we never said that. What about the giant bus, Boris?"
No. You're telling me that politicians lie?
So I'll tell you now, 350 million, yeah, and we have to pay 35 billion to leave. Do you know how much? If it was actually we'll take that 350 million and pay it to the NHS. Do you know how long that 35 billion would fund the NHS if it's 350 million per year? 1,000 years.
There was 350 million a week, though, to be fair.
Was it a week? Sorry, I thought it was a year.
350 million a week.
Oh, well, I'll have to redo calculations.
But yeah.
That's a lot. That's a long time, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, it's...
Well, it'd just be it would just be 1,000 divided by 52, which is... He says getting his calculator out.
20 years?
So hang on, sorry. I said 1,000 divided by 52.
20.
Divided by 52 equals 19.23. So 19.23 years. That's a generation. That's an entire generation of people that could have saved.
And also also taking into account that it wasn't 350 million, it was more like 250, and then we got back in subsidies and other things for like...
And grants.
Yeah, to the tune of about 160 million. So it was like 40 million a week we were sending.
Fucking ridiculous. It's almost like you have to spend money to make money.
No.
It's almost like going into a fucking deficit and then trying to dig your way out of the deficit.
Do you know how many companies have moved to Frankfurt? Like all major, like very large financial institutions, 40,000 jobs. I work
for a company that had to create an entire new European head office because of what happened with Brexit. And do you know what they said? No skin off our nose. They could afford to open a whole new office and make the infrastructure to do work just in the European Union, separate to Britain.
Yeah, so what happens if the European office is 10 times more effective than the one in England because of the trading and all the laws?
Exactly. It's almost like these motherfuckers weren't thinking. It's almost like they were trying to benefit from their own stuff.
No, if anything, it was like a sense of like, oh, well, we're by ourselves. Screw them. Like, screw the...
It's this tribal mentality. So the problem is that they didn't...
That's what I see. I see separation of states, separation of like...
It's good to recognize that everyone is part of a tribe. Because you can't get away from that. We're genetically bred to be part of a tribe. But the problem is when you get to a point where you have millions of people inside of a singular
60
state.
million people, yeah.
So you have people inside of a singular state. So it doesn't matter. Let's take away it's Britain. Let's take away it's anything. You have millions or billions of people all inside that state.
Right now, from Liverpool to the north of France, there's 100 million people. It's the largest concentration of people on the planet.
It's insane. But take this. If you take all that shit away, you need to recognize that people are individuals and that they're part of individual tribes. But you can't use an archaic system which allows you people to take advantage of it and game the system so that you can take control and do what you wish, and allow certain people who are smarter than others to be able to take control and use the system against itself. Look, for example, at how democratically somebody like Hitler was able to come to power. So democratically, he came to power.
You have to be ruthless. You have to, in today's society, when there's 7.6 billion people on the planet, you have to be in a psychopath. Like, is the closest abbreviation to it. Like, CEOs are 50 times more likely to be psychopaths.
It's insane.
Like, in terms of people in power, like, they exhibit sociopathic and psychopathic traits, because in general, it means that you won't think about other people. You won't have a high level of empathy. You will just do something to benefit yourself and to get to that position. But when you get to that position, you have no empathy when you're making decisions. So when you're saying, oh, well, these people are going to lose 1,000 jobs. Oh, but no, it's fine because we're going to...
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
1,000 people lose their jobs, but I'll be fine, and I keep my money, and I have the things that I want.
It's not even like, oh, this would be better for the country. We don't want to get into more debt. This is what this is. This is what that is.
Well, you look at most campaigns now, they talk about for the many, not for the few. That's the Labour campaign. For the many, not for the few.
Yeah, but I struggle to see like any government, like recently, especially in this democratic way, to actually do something for the many instead of the few, because it seems to be the other way around. Have you seen the new GOP tax plan? That wasn't for the many.
There's a lot of this shit, mate. There's a lot of this stuff. But I mean,
it's
now,
stupidity,
but now we're looking. Now we're looking at
lack of self-awareness.
But now we're looking at a different economy could be started.
Sharing economy, globalization,
the world of Bitcoin.
The world of
cryptocurrencies, where everyone shares the information of the economy.
It's the biggest fuck you to the system like I've ever seen in a long time.
And people are scared of it.
This is why I'm so fucking for it.
People are for it, but people are scared of it at the same time.
So what happens is what happens when you put one of the most well-educated and well self-aware and has the most information generations in human history out of the 40,000 generations that have been about.
Oh, so you're saying that the most advanced bunch of people on this planet
in terms of knowledge, in terms of awareness,
technology,
in terms of
resources.
What happens when you put them in a corner? They're not just going to sit there. They're going to figure a way out of it. And that's exactly what's happened in terms of after the '08 crash. You know, I see it as a ladder. Everyone got bumped down a peg. So basically, people with university degrees and bloody masters are waiting in shops and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
We've got, a lot of like you said, banks make their own money. Banks literally
make it up.
They
make it
banks,
up. That's it.
Governments make. You can't do that with Bitcoin. You can't manipulate it. You can't. To make one Bitcoin, they said it would cost $38 billion.
Could I elaborate on what I mean by that? Because some people might have just tuned into the podcast newly.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand how banks work necessarily. So a very layman term way of explaining it is, your bank has a savings account that you can put money into, and it sits there inside the bank and it earns a small amount of interest. And what the bank, and you think, well, how does the bank make any money out of that? Well, what they do is they take the money that you have and they invest it on the stock market, and they basically try to make it so that you can have money. But that's not the full bank, because technically a peer-to-peer lender does that system, and they invest in the community. What your bank, like any big bank, proper financially regulated bank, is they say that they have. I have 100 million. It's a very small bank if it is. I have 100 million of people who saved.
There's 100
money.
million bank. Sorry, $1 million bank.
So 100 million. I have 100 million, and all of the people who are members of this bank have paid in this money. So I have 100 million that I'm going to invest with. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say I have another 100 million. Just randomly. It doesn't exist. It's not real money. It's not actually existing. But I'm now going to randomly say there's an extra 100 million that I'm going to trade with. So I've got 200 million.
That's also how you create a bubble, by the way, but you carry on.
So you've created, what you've done is you've also, in that term, you've also devalued your currency, because you've then doubled. So you've halved the value of your currency. So the pound now, if you're trading in pounds, has become half of what it's used to, because you've saturated it with double the amount of the currency. Or double the quantity of the currency, even though it's not tied against actually what the currency is when it's being paid into by hard-working people like ourselves who pay in a savings account. So then the banks go, okay, I've got £200 million, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade that in the stock market, and any of the money we get back in, it will come back as 200 million plus whatever we make, and that whatever plus we make in the stock market, we keep. That's how the bank works.
Yeah, so it's like
why it collapsed like Northern Rock, for example, is they went too fucking hard and they traded on too many risks, too risky stuff like the prime property market. They invested in shit like that.
They also gave away loans to people that had absolutely no credit rating.
They traded on people who were fucking too risky. They knew they were too risky. They knew they were breaking the law, and they traded with people who they shouldn't have traded with in the first place. Then people who couldn't pay the loans back plus the interest basically went, I can't do it. What's the term in finances where you can't pay?
What, bankruptcy?
No, it's not declare bankruptcy. It's like urinate, regain.
Man of Shaw?
No, it's where you. Oh fucking hell! It's not rebuke, but basically it begins with R, and I've forgotten the fucking word for it. And it pisses me off. Where basically you say you can't pay the loan, so then you declare yourself as bankrupt. So then that money that the bank has created that exists nowhere
goes into thin air.
And then what happens is your undervalued currency, because you've then halved the value of your actual currency, then crashes and you fuck the whole system up.
Exactly, and this is what happened in 08. And the thing is, have you seen Moneyball? Not Moneyball. Is it Moneyball? No, the one with Jonah Hill and the one with Brad Pitt.
Oh,
the Big Short.
You think about Wolf of Wall Street?
No, the Big Short. The one.
Big Short.
The Big Short.
Could you
basically
bring that up
with
on Google, please, Josh?
What's his name? Who's the Evan Almighty?
Oh, Steve Carell.
Yeah, Steve Carell's in it. Brad Pitt's in it. So anyway, they talk about the Wall Street crash and stuff like that, and nothing changed after. Barely anyone went to prison. There was like one dude that got shanked for it. The bonus is still stayed. Basically, we propped up the system by giving them 800 billion.
The taxpayers did.
Yeah,
who we're talking about. So people who pay taxes.
Yeah, and it worked out to £30,000 each. So if you're a person right now that's a taxpayer, your bills went up by 30 grand for the amount you would have to pay the banks for.
It's insane. And then what happened was our government in Britain created something called the FSCS, which is the financial I've forgotten the fucking what is this?
Financial Ombudsman.
No. It's not the Ombudsman, because that's the FOS. That's the FOS.
Okay.
So the FSCS is. So the FSCS is designed to be a amount of where the government says that all the money that's in circulation by the banks we will cover if anything bad happens.
That's just basically, you're like that person at the bar.
It's a safety net.
I've got the tab, but then when the tab comes in, it's
Yes.
like $100 billion.
So now the banks, but it's good for the banks because they know that they can be a bit risky and try to make the money back because they can play with the risks. But
because they know that there's no consequences to their actions.
No, but the government goes, we are going to set the rules for you to trade by. So you can only trade by these rules, but we will back you up if you fuck up for some reason. So they give them an insurance policy.
There's always ways around rules, especially when there's so much money around them.
There's a lot of news about that.
Bitcoin, in regards to that, there's a limited supply of 21 million.
Yes.
It works on the scarcity principle. Now, the thing is, everyone's like, it's a bubble, it's this and that. A few points I'll make on that. One, I have seen sponsored ads of people saying that Bitcoin is no good.
It's like, yeah, I've seen that as well.
So it's almost like someone is standing to lose a lot of money and a lot of influence.
Existing banking structures will.
So basically,
They use currency.
It was if just a random person tried to do this, they would probably not be alive anymore. But because it's an actual network, it's an actual system.
Yeah.
It's like a virus. It just spreads and you can't really stop it. So what they're trying to do now, and I've seen it so many times, is let's say you've got 10 billion, you're a bank. You're going to buy a shit ton of Bitcoin and then you're going to sell it instantly.
You make a massive profit straight away, wouldn't you?
No, if you bought it and then you sold it, you jolt the market. And your goal is to try and scare people and saying, look how volatile it is and stuff like that.
So
Have you noticed how it goes up and then it just drops
So
like
you
that?
take a shit ton out of circulation,
Yeah, wait,
and
and then dump it.
and dump it back
instantly.
in.
And you do it with your friends. So what happens is
Interesting.
you see a massive jolt and you try to scare people. And I've seen that done with the tech stocks. If you look at the tech stocks,
Interesting.
they drop like 5%. It's basically people trying to fuck with the system. So 1,000 people own 40% of all the Bitcoin in the world. And the Bitcoin market capitalization is about 120 billion now, but it keeps going up ridiculously fast. So it's decentralized. It's, I'm not going to say unhackable, but it's
did you see that? Oh, just but in there was a Bitcoin heist.
70 million, yeah.
It was an insane figure. Could you bring up it's on
That was
BBC
actually-
News, the
that was
Bitcoin heist, please, Josh?
The people that store the Bitcoins, like for example, financial...
What are they called? Nest Hash? Nest Cash or something like that? It's on BBC News in the tech.
It was a really
bits.
it was a very poorly defended
Josh.
structure.
Say again, sorry?
Nice hash.
Nice hash.
Yeah.
So how much did they lose?
70 million.
About 4,700 Bitcoin.
Which is equivalent...
$80 million.
$80 million was stolen from Nice Hash.
Yeah, but
in
it
a
wasn't
hacking
actually...
attack.
It was because they stored all the codes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fact that someone hacked the Bitcoin system.
It's insane.
If someone stole the... So NiceHash, they did a really stupid thing. They basically stored everything, even though the system itself, the network, it's a ledger, so everyone knows
It's a distributed ledger,
Yeah,
which is
so
it's really difficult for people to understand this.
It's
But
blockchain. And the thing is, blockchain is going to become a massive thing.
blockchain is really difficult for people to understand. So explain it for us, please.
So basically, you, me, and Josh are in a network right now, and this is, for example, a blockchain. This glass is right here.
That we can all see.
Yeah, we can all see the glass. I do this to the glass. Everyone in the network knows that I've moved the glass.
Yep.
So if anyone else tries to fuck with the glass, steal the glass,
External
do anything
people,
with the glass...
External people you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of us know. Now imagine all of us are 10 million people,
Okay.
and we're all looking at that glass.
Yep.
How
But we're all doing it on a computer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but then
so-
the glass only has 21... Is it 21 million bitcoins?
Yeah.
So it only has 21
there's the
million
scarcity
bitcoins
principle.
in it.
No one can jump, like, for example, create fake money to get rid of it.
Yep.
No one can hack it.
Yep.
The only thing that will dictate the price is how many people buy it or not.
So the more people who come around, the more... So it goes from free and it doubles, and then that doubles, and it doubles, and it keeps going up at an exponential rate.
And the more people that have it, the more secure it becomes.
That's interesting. More people, more secure.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and the thing is as well, it's anonymous because I'm not connected to that. Everyone knows that I've got the code.
Yes.
There's like a very long code.
Yeah.
And I can use that code then to transfer it to other people.
Interesting.
So, long story short, the thing about a bubble, like the subprime mortgages and stuff like that, it was an inflated system. The banks made up money that there wasn't there. Once people realized it was bullshit, it collapsed. The thing about Bitcoin,
You can't make it up. You can't copy Bitcoin.
You can't make it up. You can't copy. There's nothing manufactured. The more people that buy it, the higher it goes. The less people that buy it, the lower it goes.
Yeah.
So people who say it's a bubble don't know anything about economics. It really annoys me.
I'm not. I wouldn't. They definitely do know about economics because they're getting economists to do it. And the reason why they're saying
they're also paying economists a lot of money to do it.
Yes, but that's a lot like when companies used to pay, like cigarette companies used to pay doctors to say that cigarettes were healthy, and they'd say that my doctor smokes Camel, which is a legitimate advert, by the way, back in the 1970s or 60s. I can't remember. But economists are saying it because they're comparing it to previous economic systems.
You can't compare it to previous systems because it's completely different in terms of like the exterior factors.
A historian would argue that we always repeat ourselves.
Well, we do, but if
an economic historian would go, okay, so we're investing lots of money into a system. Us just let's just take away that it's Bitcoin. So we're investing lots of money into a pool, and then it's going to inflate, and it's going to crash like Wall Street and the 08 crash.
Preconceived notions and stuff like that. And this is I'm actually glad for this because I'm going to make more money on it. I'm about to put another. My money.
You'll put some money in. Don't say the amount. You'll put some money.
I'll put some money in.
Some money. You don't say the amount because people then know how much you have, and they'll be like, I'm going to try and get that fucking money. I want that money.
But basically, the money that I put in recently, it doubled in the past 2 weeks. But anyway, that's
very good.
The thing that I've got a problem with that is I understand what you're thinking. They're like, oh, it just keeps going up. It's going to go down. This is the system that created the crash. This is Bitcoin.
So if
the system in general doesn't have any of the exterior influences like the government getting lax on legislation, people not being able to afford their loans. All that controls the price of this, because it's not getting raised, is the amount of people that have it.
Who then trade other currencies into it.
More and more people are figuring it out. More and more people are... The people that know, such as myself, who's actually taken a lot of time to research this, they then tell other people. Then they say, listen, this is what's happening, and it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah, but I understand where they're coming from in terms of it keeps going up and up and up. But what
goes up must come down.
Exactly. That stupid fucking
gold
thing.
Has gold gone down? That's got a limited supply.
Yeah, it's true. But that's tight. So gold, we use that fucking shiny piece of metal to tie all of our other currencies to. Why the fuck hasn't anyone gone, fuck gold? Like, how come a country hasn't gone, fuck gold? Why don't we tie our entire economy to Bitcoin? Because then Bitcoin doesn't...
Japan.
It doesn't being destroyed.
So there's this massive war going on right now, and this is like a lot more intrigue and a lot more things like this
war? A war as in a metaphorical war or an actual fighting
It's an economic war.
Okay, so it's a metaphorical war.
It's a metaphorical war. So what's happening right now is there's a lot of people worried about this because it basically... You'd have to go to Europe and change it to euros or anything like that. Like, imagine if you can go anywhere on the planet, use the same coin.
You can go into London. I did this.
Yeah,
you can go into London and you can pay for a coffee in Bitcoin.
Yeah, so it's got value attached to it. You can buy things with this thing that you're buying.
Good coffee, by the way.
Yeah, so fiat money, they're like, oh, well, it's nothing. Fiat money is the same. Fiat money is nothing as well. Fiat money is... So basically, China just decided out of the blue... They
banned Bitcoin.
Yeah, they had the highest volume of Bitcoin miners, Bitcoin exchanges...
Of course they do.
...in the world.
There's more people there than any other fucking state.
And then out of nowhere, they're like, no, stop, nothing's happening, we are done. So I'm like, well, that's really fishy. And the price dropped quite dramatically. And then what Japan did... Because Japan and China love each other. We love Bitcoin. Buy all the Bitcoin in the world. And they created like a lot of, exchanges. Yeah. They're like completely embracing it. The government's saying that you can use it for plenty of things. And Japan's no joke. They're the third largest economy on the planet.
I think we're sixth. We are sixth, Britain.
We've just gone from fifth to sixth, yeah.
Probably
Brexit.
Yeah, Brexit's probably going to fuck us there. So could you just find out if what Japan's size of economy is, please?
It's massive.
In the world.
It's 6 trillion, 6.5 trillion.
Just want to see if it's the third or...
So
you think about it, if it's the third, that means it's almost as big as the American economy.
No, well, the thing is the difference in prices. China's like 21 trillion, America's 22, and Japan's 6. So
there's a big disparity.
It's like the two big players are literally just up there.
I wonder what Russia is like now. If you can find that league table.
Like 12. Russia's like 1.6. Like I looked this stuff up.
That'll be interesting this year.
So the economy of Japan is at almost $4.9 trillion.
Ooh, 4.9 trillion. Where does that sit it against the other countries?
Top 10 world GDPs.
Third.
Third. And what are the ones above it? Do we know?
China and America.
No.
It should be China and America. Imagine if it's not. Imagine if it's some country fucking...
I can't remember. I think
Ecuador.
gross domestic product, it's America. Actual output is China.
It's China, 100%.
So
fucking hell.
It says US and EU.
US and EU.
It's putting the EU up there. So yeah, EU.
Oh, the European Union.
The thing is, after England drops out of
that's going to tank.
Well, yeah, it's going to go down by 2.4 trillion because that's, I think, the UK
I
economy.
thought we were more than that. Anyway.
Yeah, try it 2.4 for UK.
So, US is close to 20.
Close to 20. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
EU's
17.
about 17. China's at 13.
Is this quite an old one? Because I'm sure they've shot up recently.
Do you know what year this was published in?
It says 2017.
So that's probably as accurate as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Cool. It's interesting. What we say, ladies and gentlemen, is Bitcoins. If you want to invest, if you've got some spare cash, we're not advising you
Just put
financially.
in £100 on Coinbase account and you'd be surprised.
Yep, just put in any spare cash that you've got. Just bang it in there. That you obviously not that you're going to need, because the problem you've got is that a lot of people are living in debt nowadays. But if you've got a bit of spare cash, just bang it into an account with Coinbase. Is that an app? I've seen Coinbase.
Yeah, that's what I've got. So like this
Just
is
bang
by the
it
way,
in there.
it's like a lifeline, I think, for your young generation. This is the reason why, and so far it hasn't disproven that. Because if you bought it a year ago, you'd have a lot more money now.
Oh, isn't it the first billion? Like there's a twins that became the
Winklevoss
first
twins just became billionaires.
First billionaires.
They put 8 million in it 4 years ago.
What I'd like to say is those guys dress fucking sharp. I saw a photo of them at an award ceremony. Fuck me. They were looking like the guy had a purple velvet tuxedo
Bleeding hell.
and a black bow tie, white shirt.
So it turns out like
hair just the the
turns
salt and
back
pepper
around,
hair.
yeah.
Just so I was like, fuck, that guy's getting. I get that. I
Like,
bet that
they
guy.
were demonized and stuff like that in the
gets
social
fucked
network, and now they're like,
so
screw
much.
you, we're fucking billionaires.
I bet they just have fucking nasty sex parties. Nasties. Because they could probably pay. They'd be like, I'll pay for your sex and I'll pay for your silence.
Oh, dear.
And I'll do this in 2 different transactions with Bitcoins. And then there's a girl just going, yeah, fuck it, I'll do anything
Anyway.
for Bitcoins.
Anyway, back to helping the everyday Joe out. What you can do is you can get paid, for example. You get however much for your paycheck. You can put 200-300 quid in. And then
If you can afford that. So whatever you can afford.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So if you can only afford 5 quid, you can only afford 2 quid. If you can afford fucking £2,000, however much you individually can, when you look at your finances and you sit down and you look through it, if you want to invest in it, do it. Now, the problem is you don't have any financial security. So if it does tank, like these fucking experts,
you need to be.
inverted commas,
You need to know that the
you
money.
need to know that money can devalue.
Yeah.
You need to understand that your money is not going to stay at what the
'cause
value it could
there's
be.
high risk, high reward kind of
Yes.
thing. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to put this and money will grow. That's
So if
not
you
the way the world
if you
works.
put your entire life savings into it and it tanks, that is,
yeah.
I mean, this is a warning I'm telling you now.
That's
That is
a
on
disclaimer.
you. You
Yeah.
now know that information, and I would 100% research the company that you want to invest with Bitcoin. So like maybe a Coinbase.
that's the weakest link in the entire
That's the-
legend now.
that's the
It's the
link.
company that's holding it, not the actual
Yes, I
system
agree.
itself. It's the companies that hold the bitcoins and hold your
They're
actual
the target for these
transactions.
attacks, like
Yeah,
nice
and
hash.
hackers are getting ridiculous. I used to work in cybersecurity for the longest time. Like hackers are getting really smart.
They're getting
nowadays.
smart. They are targeting where a lot of the information is stored. When you think about that, Nice Hash lost $80 million. That's $80 million that people invested into it that could just be mum and dads trying to be like, fuck it, I'm just going to invest some money from a kid's university.
It's terrible. It really is, and I feel bad for these people, and it's crazy.
And there's not like that 80 million. It's not like Nice Hash just goes, oh, well, we'll just find 80 million and give it back to people. They don't have that system. So when I was talking about the FSCS, the reason why that's good for banking is because you have that security. So if a bank does go bust, the government will pay everyone who has a bank account that amount of money that they put in.
Blockchain needs to do as well, but it's about mass adoption. I think people are still there's like early adopters now, and the early adopters, to be fair, they're the ones like at the moment, like it or not, they're making some serious cash.
Yeah, they are.
You know, if you had 1 Bitcoin last year, you bought 600 quid, you would have 15 grand right now. Sorry, no, 12 grand. Oof. So 600 quid would have been
New
12
car.
grand.
Could have a new car.
Yeah, or if you had
You could help your kids go to university.
yeah, if you say screw it, I'll put 6 grand, then you'd have 120 right now.
You could have you could have a deposit for a house. You could buy your house outright.
Yeah, if you had 600 quid a year ago, you could buy a house right now.
What this is really demonstrating to us, and I think we're all nodding, which is quite an interesting thing, is that probably all after this we're going to invest in Bitcoin. I'm not invested in Litecoin. I don't trust Litecoin. Well, sorry, no, not Litecoin. I apologise. Ethereum.
Ethereum, Litecoin, Monero.
Remember I told you about that fucking massive breach where they lost like $350 million?
Because someone messed up.
Because some fucking idiot who was running the system accidentally was doing he did a patch on something, then he accidentally patched it so he had control of a few different accounts, usernames and passwords, and then he went fuck, deleted the code, and then it would stop anybody else logging in ever again. So he lost $350 million, I believe.
Of other people's money.
Of other people's money. That guy is so dead. He's at the fucking bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, people are going to kill him. Because Ethereum is used widely by the criminal community. I'm talking the mafias. I'm talking the black markets. I'm
transitioning for the mafia.
Okay.
So, MMA news. I know this article already, but you might have it up, Josh. So I might be spoiling your stuff. I'm sorry. Conor McGregor, back in the news. Conor McGregor was recently in a fight in a Irish bar.
In a fight.
Whereby he hit a member of the Irish underworld, criminal underworld, apparently, and he now has a hit on his head. I think it's like 90,000 euros. Can you find an article about like Conor McGregor?
That's pretty. 90,000 euros is pretty serious.
90,000 euros. Apparently, I think it's somebody who's connected to the IRA, by the way. And the IRA, for people who don't know who the IRA are, they are some serious motherfuckers.
Not to be messed with.
You don't fuck with the IRA.
Yeah.
Like, I used to live in Belfast. You do not fuck with anyone associated with the IRA. You also don't fuck with anybody who's associated with the EVF. The EVF is the Ulster Voluntary Force.
900,000 euros.
No, it's not 900,000.
900 grand on him.
Almost €1 million.
Yep.
Fuck me. Wow. Should we go hunt him? No, I'm joking. I'm not going to.
That's a pretty big bounty on his head.
What I would like to say is, Conor McGregor...
Is there some marketing stunt? Come on.
You've picked on the wrong motherfucker, really, because he's probably one of the baddest mixed martial artists on the planet.
No, but the thing is, it wouldn't have been someone that's just like a...
Guys, let's do this. Claim the reward, then invest in Bitcoin.
Yes! Now we know what to do. That's the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see us in the news... We killed. I couldn't kill Conor McGregor.
No,
I really couldn't. He is 100, and I couldn't because he would kill me.
He would fuck us up.
He would fuck us up.
Who's just there, like in a pub, like, and he has 900.
He was apparently he was out with his friends, and one of his friends used to get into trouble. Like, used to have fights with one of these guys who then became part of the IRA.
Yeah.
So they used to have a bit of trouble. Then the guy from the IRA saw the other guy, started picking on him. Conor went, that's my friend. I'm not going to let anyone pick on my friends. So then he went up and basically slapped the guy.
Yeah.
And then his dad, the guy who's in the IRA, his dad apparently intervened and then got slapped in the head. And then other people have put the hit on, even though the dad was like, it's all calm down. You know, like you see in gangster films, where it's the older guys like, it's all calm it down, everything's fine, don't worry. Yeah. And basically, that's what happened. Yeah. Motherfucker.
To be fair, like 900,000 euros, like there would be people that would attempt to kill him for that. Like, there's
100%. But the interesting thing about Conor McGregor is he's got $100 million probably from that fight with Floyd Mayweather.
He got like 40, but he got seriously.
But he got this, as in the sponsorship rights from that. He probably got us, and all the acting gigs, the advertising spots, cash, everything. And the interesting bit is now at news, boxing and MMA, is apparently Manny Pacquiao called out Conor McGregor, and apparently Manny Pacquiao's management team says that they might be in discussion with Conor McGregor for a fight in 2018. Because we want to see that again. Manny, the interesting bit is, it's going to be even worse for Conor McGregor. Floyd Mayweather was the perfect guy for him to fight. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this, but he was, because Floyd Mayweather wasn't a knockout artist in boxing. He was a very technical boxer. He's not famed for knocking people out. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, is famed for knocking people out. That little Filipino bloke Simon, kills people.
Be honest, would you be knocked out for like $30 million?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'd fucking take a punch from anyone. I would take a punch from a transvestite hooker who just fisted their own asshole for £30 million. And get knocked out by them.
He's the best marketer. He started off with the UFC with piddly like $500,000 a fight. Like, I say piddly because it's not piddly, but compared to how much he's making now,
he went from Cage Warriors. So not even that. He went down from lower than Cage Warriors. He went from Cage Warriors, became a 2-weight champion in Cage Warriors, then went into the UFC, and he just started talking shit. But he knew his physical capabilities. He knew that he could knock anyone out because he was a very big featherweight.
Yeah.
Then he took control of the entire featherweight division, and then he starched Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, and everybody lost their fucking shit. And all the companies,
that was straight away, wasn't it?
All the companies are into sponsorships, and they wanted
there was
to
so
work
much
with
hype behind
sports
him.
People just went yes, because he's well spoken, he looks good, he when he wins by devastating power, and he does it in such a mannerism that he hypes it up so much, and then he's successful.
And then talk to people our age who doesn't know his name.
But the best bit is he faced adversity and came back. When he lost to Nate Diaz,
Yeah.
he lost. He got choked out by him, but he came back. He came back, and then he fought Nate Diaz a second time, and he won. But he captured the lightweight belt against Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez, who's now known basically as the man of violence, because he is a very violent fighter. And he showed Eddie Alvarez that Conor McGregor is on a whole nother fucking level when it comes to elite striking. His left hand is the fucking touch of death, as Faraz Sahabi says. But now we're looking at the world of MMA. You're looking at the killers that are coming up through the ranks of lightweight.
Well, did you see the guy that I shared the other day? I've totally forgot the name now, but he's like a really new promising. He's vegan. He's got a massive
what's
reach
his
on his
name? I usually know these. Is he in the UFC?
He's got a big fro. Yeah,
he's got a big fro. It's not Khabib Nurmagomedov, is it?
No, it's not Nurmagomedov.
But that's because that's just a hat. He's got an afro.
He has got an afro. He's got
Is he white or
this
black?
White. He's got this really weird way of punching and stuff like that, and he just like very technical.
Is he in the UFC or is he not?
He's in the UFC. Yeah.
Is he a lightweight?
He's a lightweight. Yeah. Really
we'll
tall
have to see him.
reach.
We'll have to see him get built up, because the problem you're getting is that a lot of these guys, the new blood is not being looked after a lot very much.
Yeah.
Look at so that recently you had a fight at, I think it was UFC 218, was Eddie Alvarez fought Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, who was from the World Series of Fighting and was the lightweight champion there.
Yeah.
Came over to the UFC and was winning a lot. He fought against Eddie Alvarez, and to be honest, Justin Gaethje was winning the fight to begin with, but then Eddie Alvarez turned it up a notch, went full fucking violent mode, kneed the fucker in the head and knocked him out.
Damn.
So what happened was the UFC just lost the new potential face of the lightweight division, because they would have been
is it the matchups that scare? I think. Do you think they're giving them too much that they can handle too early, and the experienced fighters are just ending up ending them?
Yeah, this is the problem. What you're doing is you're not in. So like, for an example, did you see the fight between Alistair Overeem and Francis Ngannou, where Francis Ngannou took his fucking head off? Where he hits him with a left uppercut.
Overeem should stop fighting now.
No, I don't agree with that, but I'll come back to that in a second. Francis Ngannou is he went to Sports Science Academy, and they did a record of his punching power. Could you find that for us, Josh? Actually, Francis Ngannou. So Francis is spelled Francis, and Ngannou is spelled NG. Thank you. Just put punching power after that to find his. Because he went to Sports Science, and he is the hardest punching person they've ever measured. He punches harder than Tyrone Spong, and Tyrone Spong is a MMA guy and kickboxing, and now does boxing only.
Yeah, well,
have you got the figure or not? No, not yet. Okay.
So the thing is with that,
but
you have to be a well-rounded fighter. The thing about UFC,
but Francis Ngannou is a well-rounded fighter because of his athletic abilities. Because he's a very big heavyweight, and because he's a very athletic heavyweight, he can get away with some stuff that other people can't. Alistair Overeem, when he was on fucking steroids, could do that. He can't do that now, so he has to be exceptionally crafty. Now he is one of the world's best kickboxers that's ever entered MMA. In fact, he probably is. Him and Mark Hunt are probably two of the best kickboxers that have ever gone into MMA. Ever. Because of their knockout power and their chins. But when you got Francis Ngannou, who can take your fucking head off your shoulders with an uppercut, and I saw his head. Remember the photo with Anthony Joshua uppercutted Klitschko, and you saw his neck stretch.
Yeah,
that's what happened to Alistair Overeem. But now it's not with a boxing glove; it's with a 4-ounce glove. It's a 4-ounce glove. This is the thing: heavyweights don't have more padding than somebody who's at a fucking flyweight. You have the same glove. That's the thing.
So, Ngannou, 129,000 units.
Oh! 129,000 units.
Before, it was...
What is that in newtons?
Tyrone Spong. Yeah.
114,000.
114,000 units. Is that... is kinetic energy, so that would be Newton meters? That's the units, I think.
What's in terms of pounds? Pounds per square inch is where you really...
Well, here's an interesting... Newton... Could you find that out in pounds or convert it to pounds? Because I think it's in Newton meters. Newton meters. So whenever you want to measure kinetic energy, you take you take mass and you divide it by distance to be able to work it out. So Newton meters.
So I think it's like 800 to 900 pounds is like a really powerful, like one of the most powerful...
It's horrendously... but that would be much more than that. He's a heavyweight, so he's 260 pounds at least. at most.
It's 20 pounds heavier than me.
260 pounds. He had to cut the weight down to get there, but he's a big boy. And now he's going to be fighting Stipe Miocic. This is what I'm talking about. So they're going to give him straight to Stipe Miocic. So they're not going to have him fight. What I would have said is he should have fought Fabricio Verdum. And then you have Stipe fight Kane when Kane comes back. And then whoever wins that, then you have Ngannou next to it. Because what you got, the problem is, Ngannou hasn't appeared on the main Fox TV. So not everyone in America and the rest of the countries that get Fox get to see him fight. They only saw him on like FS1, which isn't a major sports channel. So if you have him on Fox as the undercard to Stipe versus Kane, so you have Verdum versus Ngannou.
The heavyweight division in UFC has never been that exciting.
It used to be. No, it used to be when Kane was around. When Kane was there, so like but it's kind of stagnating now. It's a lot of old guys.
Same with the light heavyweight divisions, kind of like
it's stagnating, but that's because of issues you've got with like John Jones. Yeah. You've got these
Daniel Cormier, like the thing happening.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got these problems now. The UFC is not investing enough in the stars that they have, as in the up and comers. They're not doing like the UFC.
They're trying to like bleed it out instead of trying to.
They're trying to bleed they're basically what they're trying to do is make their existing stock go as far as possible.
Instead
they're
of
not
trying
investing
to get
in new stock.
The thing is, people always want something new. People always want a new story. That's why Conor McGregor was so well liked. He was Irish. He had a smart talking accent. He had like a history. He started from nothing. He came all the way up. That thing sells.
Think about what other Irish fighter would be in the UFC? Pretty much none. British fighters. Then you bring it out further, or of the British Isles, because you can't say United Kingdom.
All I can think of is Bisping.
Ross Pearson. I'm really starting to run out now.
It's all mainly America.
You had Scott Askin.
Brazil.
Scott Askin was in it. You had hit the guy he fought in ACB recently, who I've forgotten his name.
Japan used to have some really good fighters, but after Pride...
a lot of those guys are too old now.
Yeah.
Like Gomi needs to fucking retire. But it's an insane thing. Like, this is the problem in the UFC. They're not investing in the young people and having the young... So what I would have done is, Ngannou, you do against Verdum, so that you have a test of an elite level grappler.
Yeah.
Then what you do is you have Stipe versus Kane, and I would do it on the same night, and then you'd have Ngannou.
They'd want to stretch that fight card out.
Ngannou would come in the cage and you'd bring him in, and they would have the WWE fucking thing where they call each other out, and then you have to stare down there on Fox live. So then everyone's going, this is going to be the biggest heavyweight of all time to crown the baddest man on the planet, and then you have them two fight. That's what I would have done.
Not a bad idea.
Exactly. Because you have that hype. You have the WWE hype, which WME is famed for, who owns the UFC now.
Yeah.
But then you have we've protected it. If Verdum beat Ngannou, then he fights whoever it is. It's not a lose situation. Because then he just goes back, and then Ngannou would fight, I don't know, let's say for example he fights Derek Lewis. And then he's right back in the mix. You don't lose him. You just give him more of a story of that he fought Verdum and he lost against Verdum, and then if Verdum beat whoever, then he'll have a rematch. And you see what I mean? Like, you have a lot because you've insulated him against the elite level, because Stipe is a grinder. Stipe and Kane are grinding UFC heavyweights.
So that'd be a good
They're
fight to
smaller than the normal heavyweight, like Francis Ngannou, but if they can survive the storm, they grind you down with superior cardiovascular and endurance.
Which is something that the heavyweights just sorely lack.
Exactly, because when you think about it, probably Kane and Stipe could go down to maybe light heavyweight if they went on a diet. They went really on a diet. They could go down to it.
But to be fair, the light heavyweights, like at the moment, to be fair, I don't think it's that well defended.
No, it's not, because you got Daniel Cormier, who'll probably be fighting Volkan Ozdemir. I think that they've announced that fight. But Volkan Ozdemir was involved in a fucking fight in a nightclub in Switzerland, where he knocked two guys out because they basically started on him. Tried jumping him, and he went, you know what, mate? See ya. Boom! He's a vicious striker as well, but I don't think he's going to beat Daniel Cormier. What I think Daniel Cormier really needs to do is go to the heavyweight division. I'd love to see him in the heavyweight division, because I think he'd fuck up some guys.
He's a big light heavyweight.
He's very big. He's had trouble cutting weight before. Remember Towelgate? Where he had a fucking towel and he was holding onto the towel whilst he was weighing in New York? Yeah? When he fought Anthony Rumble Johnson, he almost didn't make weight.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, Magomedov lost that a few times.
I'm sorry, but that entire team has a problem with making weight. They've got a problem with making weight, and they've got a problem of having loads of injuries. Because everyone who goes through fucking American Top Team? I believe it's American Top Team. Or is it American Kickboxing Academy? Could you find out what Daniel Cormier what gym he fights out of, please? I think it's either American Top Team or it's American Kickboxing Academy. But either way, that team that they have of Nurmagomedov, Luke Rockhold, Cain Velasquez,
American Kickboxing Academy,
AKA, thank you, and Daniel Cormier, and that's not just...
Is Cain Velasquez still about?
He's recently had back surgery where they fused his discs together.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That he was a good heavyweight.
He's a monster. He's probably... There's an argument to be made there that he's probably the greatest heavyweight of all time. Him, Fedor. I've got him, Fedor, and do you know who else is there?
You're going to say it, aren't you?
Fabricio Verdum. Do you know why? Fabricio Verdum has submitted Fedor.
Fabricio Verdum is his Brazilian jiu-jitsu is out of this world. It's ridiculous.
And to be honest, he probably could submit anyone in the entire
Who
planet.
is it? Who was it that I got Bigfoot Silver? He just doesn't look like he's a powerful. I don't know. He looks scary.
He's not doing well now, though. I'll tell you why.
Who did he knock out? He knocked
out Alistair Overeem.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was like, he's not going to stand with him, but he did, and he knocked him out. That was crazy.
So what happened is that Bigfoot Silva has done a few MMA things, and he's been knocked out loads of times. Then he did a fight with Glory, the kickboxing organization, and he got knocked out by Rico Van Hoeven. Van Hoeven? Verhoeven? Verhoeven, sorry. Rico Verhoeven.
Do you know
basically got starched.
Was it you that I was talking to you this about? But in terms of why people actually they suffer really bad brain damage, is because every time you get hit really hard in the face, your brain as a survival instinct basically
it secretes a protein that hardens the tissue, but over time it builds up and stops the actual usage of it, and it causes a chronic degradation of your brain cells,
which is what happened to
American football players. I think they wanted to do a biopsy of the guy who died recently.
I think.
So that is where your body then knows that your brain tells your body, I can't take the same punishment.
So I'm just going to go down.
So we need to shut down to protect the brain. Scary shit.
That's how people lose their shins.
Yeah. That's how people need to... Like Mark Hunt said, he's been slurring his words recently, and he was pulled from a card where he was meant to fight Fabricio Verdum in Australia. They had to pull him... The UFC pulled him from the card. Mark Hunt went off on Dana White in flipping massive... You think we swear much on the fucking podcast? Mark Hunt went full bore Australian, dropped every single swear word he could think of in a blast of Dana White. But then
he also called him a bald-headed prick.
Called him a bald-headed prick. I am offended by that, as I identify as a bald-headed prick.
The article that I have up now is that the UFC's cleared him to fight after the brain test had been completed. Yeah, so I think they brought him to Vegas and then they did the brain test to clear him, but the argument was that he did brain tests in New Zealand or Australia, and that was fine. I mean, if he's admitted loss and slurring of your words. That's what Muhammad Ali did towards the end of his career. Yeah, and Muhammad Ali developed pugilist dementia. Well, he developed dementia, and people were like, "Oh, well, it's not related to boxing. He just had that genetically." I don't think that the fucking punches to the head helped. I don't think they helped. No. Other news in MMA is the announcement. You know how GSP just recently beat Bisping and won the middleweight belt? He's vacated the belt. I called this shit. I've called it. Well, I was reading that it was a 3-week turnaround, wasn't it? Oh no, so that's Kelvin Gastelum. How come? So
did GSP just be like, you know what? I fancy a title for just a couple of weeks.
So he went for the perceived easiest target. The reason why is that GSP and Bisping have previously trained together, so he already knew what Bisping's weaknesses were.
Also, GSP is not even human, so he just goes in.
When it comes to elite level athletes, he's a fucking science experiment, is what GSP is. But he is the scientist who's experimenting on it. But he's found a way of doing it. So what he's
also a very smart fighter. He's really.
Let's look at it. He went to Freddie Roach, who is the guy who coached Manny Pacquiao, the elite level boxer. He's also trains at Renzo Gracie's academy in New York,
BJJ
underneath John Danaher, who he trains with members of the Danaher Death Squad, like Gary Tonin and Gordon Ryan. And he also trains with a former opponent now of Jake Shields, one of the most decorated American grapplers of all time.
So wrestling, BJJ, and boxing.
And his wrestling skills he has developed in Canada exceptionally well, and he used to train with a exceptionally brilliant welterweight of Rory McDonald. Rory McDonald, who recently said in the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix that he would want to be an alternate, and he thinks he would beat most of them. And to be honest, he is a fucking brilliant welterweight. His skill set would match up brilliantly against the lighter heavyweight Grand Prix entrants like Chael Sonnen, King Mo, and Ryan Bader. I think he could go up to them and meet them in a very close weight category, and he'd be a nightmare for them. Other guys like Frank Mir, Roy Nelson.
For Frank Mir. I don't.
I like Frank Mir because he is one of the most exciting submission artists in the
He doesn't fight
division.
that much though, stand up, and I don't know why.
No, but that's because he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who snapped 2 people's arms clean in half. Like, he broke Tim Sylvia's arm to secure the heavyweight title. I think it was heavyweight title. I'm not sure now. He broke Tim Sylvia's arm with an arm bar. The 2 bones in your forearm, he snapped them in 2 places. And then he submitted Rogerio Nogueira. There's 2. There's Big Nog and Little Nog, and I think it's Rogerio, which is Big Nog. He took his arm, put it into a Kimura. He didn't tap, so he just went, fuck it, and broke his arm. Clean.
Nogueira's not one for tapping.
No, Nogueira's an elite level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Elite level. And it shows how good Frank Mir is, because he got rocked by Nogueira's superior boxing, went to the ground, and then the scrambled, and then basically the zombie mode Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt of Frank Mir kicked in. He went into full Kimura mode, got it, and just wrenched it and fucking tore his... You know what the interesting bit is? I thought he was going to dislocate his shoulder and tear all the tendons in there. Nogueira's shoulders are so strong, the bone gave out. So this bone here was broken. So he sheared the bone.
Side like that.
Yeah, he sheared the bone because he literally went like that and sheared the whole bone. For me, it would be my shoulder joint, but Nogueira has some fucking brilliant shoulder joint to be able to take that damage, and he's back training now. It's just a bone break, which is the best thing you can have. If your bone breaks, that's better than
it's splintering.
Then your all the tendons and shit tearing. That's much worse.
Yeah,
much worse.
Yeah, you're right.
But you know so
again, that's what finished Silva when his toe touched his shin.
Oh yeah, so I've had a similar thing, but that was because of a ligament damage. His Silva had it where his bone broke.
Yeah.
So he could repair it, obviously, because he fought again.
I was shocked.
Anyway.
I was shocked. Anyway, I was there.
I'm over it. I'm well over it because he's tested hot for steroids, and that's why Kelvin Gastelum fought Bisping.
Do you think he started steroids after?
He's always been on it. It's like Jones. It's like John Jones.
You should have just quit while he's ahead.
If you get tested twice and you pop twice, so if you pop positive twice, that means you've always been taking it. Like, there's probably been a point when he took it when he was a very young man and he just kept taking it. It's like Vitor Belfort.
You're basically desecrating your entire memory.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why do it, you know?
Now, the interesting bit about GSP vacating his belt, obviously, then now what we're having is we're having Robert Whittaker, who just beat Yoel Romero, not just, but previously beat him to get the interim middleweight championship. He was going to fight Michael Bisping, but obviously Michael Bisping fought GSP. He's now been Robert Whittaker has now been crowned the undisputed middleweight champion, and he will defend his belt in Australia against Luke Rockhold. Oh! Luke Rockhold, who was a previous middleweight champion until Michael Bisping knocked him out.
So Michael Bisping
said, "I don't care. I don't care about the belt. It's not important to me anymore. All he wants to do is fun fights that are going to earn him probably a lot of money." So he'll do. I think he said he's going to do a couple more fights. So he's going to do probably a goodbye fight in Britain, but then he's going to do another fight against somebody else. I'm not sure who, but his loss against Gastelum was heavy. Was really heavy going.
Yeah,
really sad to see. It's a shit show that could happen. 3-week turnaround after he fought Kelvin Gastelum, and Kelvin Gastelum fucked him up.
So he literally he fought he had the belt and then he lost twice.
Yeah, he got knocked down and then choked out, so he did get a concussive event. Then 3 weeks later, he fought in China on Fight Pass, where no one at 4:00 in the morning. So no one in American time. So for us, that would have been like really early morning, like maybe 10.
Yeah.
So it's still too early for anybody watching. And then he got knocked out by Kelvin Gastelum.
Why did he jump back in so soon?
He was in a dark place. So the article would probably say that he was in a dark place and that he wanted to get a quick turnaround time, because if he beat Kelvin, he would be back in the middleweight contention.
Yeah. And
he was like, I'm still in great shape. I feel good. The problem is that his coaches and it's not the coach's fault, because the coaches have to prepare their warrior for the fight. It's not, they can advise him to not fight, but if he wants to, they have to let him, but they have to prepare him for the fight. So a lot of people were hating on the coaches. The coaches were like, it's not our fault. So it's responsibility of the UFC or the commission. Now, no commissioning body in the UK or the US would allow him to do it, but in China, the commissioning body for mixed martial arts is the UFC. So the UFC were the ones who let him do that. Now, in all honesty, Michael Bisping probably could sue the UFC and say, you let me fight 3 weeks after I'd had a concussive injury. You knew I was concussed, and you let me do it. and he could sue him. And to be brutally honest, he possibly should to set a precedent.
Every time I think of Bisping, I think of that shot that Dan Henderson did.
He's taken a lot. He has taken a lot of battering, and he probably does need to. But the interesting bit is, look at what his son's doing now. His son, he lives in LA with his family. His son is now in the collegiate wrestling program in America. So his son is going to grow up to be an MMA fighter. I can 100% tell you that now. He will be an MMA fighter.
It depends because genetics are so hard to...
Let's just say he's a wrestling beast.
Not everyone's Eubank Junior.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. His Bisping is an athletic freak.
Yeah.
His heartbeat, resting, is 30 beats per second.
Yeah.
Well, not per second, per minute, sorry.
I was going to say, is he a mouse?
Sorry. 30 beats per minute. Now, an average human is about 60. So his heart is exceptionally efficient. He's also got the warrior mindset. He's got that warrior mindset.
You say that, but the warrior.
But his son,
the warrior mindset comes up. Where's he from?
Manchester.
He's from Manchester, so he grew up like in a rough area. Yeah. That's how you get the warrior mindset. Yeah, if you grow up like
I agree.
Private schools and stuff like that, that's not how you get the warrior mindset.
That's the problem with young Bisping. Is he grows up. He's growing up in privilege. He's not growing up in hardship.
Yeah.
But he's growing up in America where you can get wrestling at college and university. And
well, this is the thing I was talking about. Like in terms of England and stuff like that, they don't have that wrestling background.
I'm going to counter that with a shout out to Mike Grundy. Mike Grundy is a guy who's on the cusp probably of going into the UFC. Please follow people who are listening to this podcast or watching it. Go to Mike Grundy's Twitter account, Instagram, and follow him. And keep fucking tagging the UFC and saying he needs to be in it. Mike Grundy, he's been wrestling since he's been 6 years old. He fights for Team Corban, which is the team that Darren Till comes from. Darren Till, who recently knocked out Cowboy Cerrone. Mike Grundy's been wrestling since he was 6 years old. He medaled in the Commonwealth Games. Could you just Google that for me, please? I want to know which year, and I want to know what medal he got. I think it was a bronze, but I'm not 100% sure. But he medaled in the Commonwealth Games for wrestling for Britain. Mm-hmm. He's one of the most decorated wrestlers of all time. He's won multiple national championships here in Britain. His wrestling is exceptionally good. He's currently 11
again, I was talking about generalization, but he seems like...
So this is my counter to the argument of that there's not a wrestling base in Britain. There is. It's in fucking Wigan. Go to Wigan, people. If you want to go wrestling, you fucking go to Wigan and you go, Mike Grundy, teach me how to wrestle. Or I'm not sure exactly who the coach for Wigan's wrestling team annoys me. But basically, you have some of the best wrestlers of all in Britain are there, and they need to be utilised. It needs to come out now that Britain has a wrestling base and it needs to be there. Because you have somebody like Mike Grundy who's on the cusp of going into the UFC. He recently won his most recent fight. He flew down to Brazil, went down there, and he fucked that guy up with his superior wrestling.
No, it's always a risk when you go to Brazil and have a fight, because the fans in Brazil are absolutely fanatical.
Mental. And if you start fighting in Brazil and you show that you are of a certain caliber, they're going to love you. It's like Darren Till has loads of Brazilian fans because he got stabbed in Liverpool. His coach said, go to Brazil, I'll figure out who you're going to stay with and everything for you. He went down to Brazil, trained with them, fought with them for years. That's why Darren Till is such a fucking high-level mixed martial artist. It's also probably why...
The Brazilians know how to fight in the terms of that. They're really good for
yes. So his ground skills are probably going to be absolutely fantastic. But we haven't seen Darren Till's ground skills as of yet. But we've seen Mike Grundy's. Have we got anywhere with finding where Mike
BJJ
Grundy?
Was nowhere before MMA. BJJ just came out of nowhere and was like, by the way...
First UFC. That's where it exploded.
Yeah. UFC 1 where Royce Gracie just kind of...
90s? Yeah, it was the 90s.
Royce Gracie.
Early 2000.
There was a sumo wrestler in the first one.
Yeah, he got a fucking head kicked.
There was...
I'll talk about it in a second. Josh, what are you...
So it was the men's freestyle 74kg event.
Yep.
The 2014 Commonwealth Games, and he won a bronze medal.
2014 Commonwealth Games, bronze medal. A bronze medalist in the Commonwealth Games. I don't know if he ever competed for the Olympics. That would be interesting if he competed for the Olympics, because then you could say he was Britain's Olympic star for wrestling. I mean...
Which, to be fair, compared to the pedigree of other countries, Russia, America...
Oh, but Russia are fucking gangsters when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah.
Gangsters. The thing about those countries is that they are determined. Very determined. But the problem is that Russia has recently been banned from the Winter Olympics for performance-enhancing drug use.
For an entire country. That's something else.
So certain athletes who prove that they've not used it can enter, but under no country's banner.
Wow.
Yes. That's what happens.
Wow.
That's what happens when you fucking do this shit. Have we got any other MMA news, Josh, that you found?
Oh, I've heard about Conor McGregor and Rita Ora, but that's not really...
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me this. Because the Russian hammer, Artem Lobov, he did a fucking brilliant thing. So, there was a lot of backlash recently, ladies and gentlemen, where Rita Ora and Conor McGregor were at an award ceremony or something, and a few photos were taken. Now, Rita Ora is a very good-looking young woman. Very good-looking. And she knows how to dress well. And then she posted a couple of pictures with her and Conor, and there's the tagline, date night. And everybody went fucking mental. Like, oh, and then she got a load of backlash for this, by the way. Loads of backlash.
I saw that.
Unwarranted. A lot of it's very unwarranted. She was taking the opportunity to...
Do you think it was a fame grab?
Yeah. In essence, he's the most famous combat sportsman of the modern generation. Of course
you want to be associated with him, yeah.
Anyway, Artem Lobov, fucking brilliant tweet underneath it, and he said, could you just bring the tweet up for me, please, so I can read it? Because I fucking love that shit. It was, I think he... Water, oh, yeah, some water would be nice, thank you. If there's enough, anyway. Oh, yeah, that's fine. But Artem Lobov basically said... I don't want to fuck it up because it's so funny. I want Josh to tell me it. Have you got anywhere with it?
Still trying to find it.
You're still trying to find it? Just 2 seconds.
Yeah, please.
He right, okay, so basically what he said was burger he went burgers are nice.
Yeah.
A burger is nice.
Yeah.
But oh no, I don't want to fuck it up because it's so good. It's so good.
Something about burgers.
Just
not
give
my
me a second. It's so annoying. You know when you're trying to find this information. What are you looking for, by the way?
Artem Lobov, Rita Ora tweet.
Tweet, yeah, Rita Ora. Artem Lobov, Twitter, Rita. Here we go. Let's see if it comes up with it.
Sorry, Rita. Burgers are nice, but not when a man has steak at home.
Ooh!
about that, yeah.
Artem Lobov, the fucking savage.
Yeah, to be fair, like...
I mean, he's got Dee Devlin. Dee Devlin, she's a very pretty young lady.
Dee Devlin?
Dee Devlin is her name. Is that
who
Conor McGregor's girlfriend is?
It's not even that. She was, like, from what he said, she was with him through, like, the training.
She made him the champion.
She was, like, there for him. Like, they've got, like...
She used to make his food for him. She used to support them. So basically, they used to live in a flat above his parents' house, and she used to be the only person who would make any money. And she would make food for him, and then be like, "No, you can do this. I got your back. I love you."
It's part of his story. Part of the reason why he's famous. Part of the reason it's because she had she was there. Like from what I heard, from what he said, from what everything like that. Like what an amazing woman, by the way. Like
yes, 100%. She is, and probably as a mother, she's going to do an exceptionally good job because. Obviously, now Conor McGregor has a little boy.
He says he's going to turn into... Which is the thing that she posted on Twitter.
Yeah. She posted a picture of her baby.
Yeah, and even then people were giving her abuse and stuff like that. People are absolute...
People on social media are fucking arseholes. And there needs to be a... You know, in some there's a social media site in Norway or Sweden where basically if you post shit, you try to post anything that's offensive... or nasty or mean,
banned instantly.
It stops you and goes, you can't do that. It gives you feedback. It says you can't do that. It's nasty.
Because what happens is people are just transferring hate, and it's just like a massive mindfuck where it's like.
My theory is you don't, because I wouldn't say to you like if some of the shit that would come out on like Twitter, Facebook, etc. They would come to you.
We haven't had anything bad so far, have we?
We haven't, but it couldn't come out face to face because if you said that. There'd be repercussions.
Exactly. There's a psychological principle where like you don't have any kind of connection to your actions. That's why they're arguing about drone pilots and stuff like that. But you wouldn't do it face to face. That's the thing. But some people revel in the fact that they can ruin someone else's day.
Yes.
And they revel in the fact that like I am in so much hate right now. I am in such hate mode. I want to transfer that onto other people. And I don't think that's good.
You think about it. Most people probably work in jobs they don't enjoy. To make enough money so that they can live a lifestyle of comfort.
That's true.
And they hate their job and they've not got any sort of hobby that they can pour themselves into. Yeah. And they haven't got anything like that. And then they see these people who have got just amazing lifestyles.
Or what they think is amazing.
Or what they assume but it could be totally superficial. It could be fake. And they go, and they maybe have idolized them at some point, and then they were jilted by them at some point.
Yeah.
Or that they just want to hate on somebody who's so successful because it might give them the sliver of that I took that person down, that me with this one tweet has been able to create a situation where that person feels bad, and if I can make that person feel bad, it makes me think that I am of the same standing of them, that I'm an equal to them in certain terms.
Because it's kind of like I got the audience.
I got the one up on you.
Yeah.
I one-upped you in terms of a tweet. But when you look at somebody like Conor McGregor, who tweets very infrequently, but then when he posts stuff, it's him with a convertible Rolls Royce, with him stood on the hood, with him with an open jacket, with his ripped body and his tattoos there, going, fucking bring it. And he's the kind of guy who will jump into a fucking cage to celebrate with his friend and to try to start a fight with a referee who's much bigger than him. And then he's the kind of guy who slaps fucking guys in the IRA and then he has a hit on his head and he doesn't give a fuck. And he's the kind of guy who doesn't say anything when Rita Ora puts date night, lets his missus put it back to him, so that when he does eventually fight again, he's got all this mystique behind him, and when he fights,
I just like to think that it came to that point where Conor McGregor didn't have to say anything. His wife didn't have to say anything because they've got such
his girlfriend, not his wife. I probably think that they don't believe in marriage.
Yeah, so his girlfriend is at that level where she's like, well, no, I just trust him. Like he will do that, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, is Conor McGregor, and I want to see him again in the future. There's a lot of hate going on about the Manny Pacquiao thing and what's going to happen with the lightweight division. It's being held up. GSP kind of had a go at Conor McGregor, like, oh, you're holding up the division, you should have vacated your belt.
Why doesn't GSP fight Conor McGregor?
There we go. There's the fight that we all want to see. GSP versus Conor McGregor would be the ultimate fucking
because
thing
Conor McGregor,
MMA.
I think,
yeah, but it's in MMA. Why not do it in boxing where you can make a fucking shit ton more money?
McGregor's like, I will keep using my fame right now. I'll do the boxing, and then I'll fight GSP.
MMA's not going anywhere for him
because that's a risky fight for him. Because GSP, like, no one would. Like heavier weight classes wouldn't want to be matched up against GSP. That dude's a beast.
GSP would probably fuck up most of the roster when it comes up to. I'd say he'd fuck up most of the roster. This is prime GSP, not now GSP, because GSP isn't as good as he was, in my opinion. But
even then he can still win with titles
on a fucking elite level. But welterweight now, I think he'd give problems to Tyron Woodley. Legitimately, because he's a very technical fighter, and Tyron Woodley, and he's a very high output, and he's got a very good cardiovascular system, whilst somebody like Tyron Woodley is like a guy in Tekken who expends a lot of energy, and then the power bar goes right the way down, and then he has to refill it, and then he has to do that again. He sprints like forwards and punch. Yeah, he sprints forwards and lands a lot of punches in a flurry, but then he can't consistently do it.
If GSP can weather that, he can find him on his low burner, and then.
So he's not a Nick Diaz. So you know how Nick Diaz, he doesn't go 100%, but he goes like 80%. But it's
you can't keep up with
80%.
Him. Yeah, you just can't
and he
keep
drags
up with
you into that deep water. That's what he does.
Nick and Nate,
Nick and Nate both do a similar style, but Tyron Woodley doesn't do that. He sprints forwards and annihilates you. That's what he wants to do. But
if you can take you out straight away.
But if you can take the annihilation,
you've got him on the back burner. You've basically come out with more energy.
Yes,
it's like jiu-jitsu. Like, you've got to be as absolutely efficient as humanly possible as to how you use your energy, because otherwise you'll just
look at somebody like Marcelo Garcia, who's one of the greatest ADCC champions of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. All he does is he trains jiu-jitsu. Every movement is exquisite in the practice of the technique. That's all he does, is jiu-jitsu, all day, every day. And he practices that, and he fought guys in the ADCC at the prime of his career and the prime of their career who were fucking 40 pounds heavier than he was, and he clamped onto them like a little monkey, and he'd fucking squeeze their necks until they stopped breathing.
I was in jiu-jitsu recently, and a guy that weighed about 120 pounds, I had about 100 pounds on him, and he managed to get me in a rear naked choke.
Yeah, he fucked you up. Because that's the thing.
Like, the thing is, I would just go up and I'd literally lift him over my head, and he'd just grab onto my arm.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you've got a limb that's free and you don't know how to defend against it,
you're fucked.
You know, so I nearly got him in one as well, but he managed to sliver out of it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You didn't.
I didn't. Yeah,
you didn't get him.
Yeah, shout out to Stafford as well, by the way.
Stafford Swainston, is his surname?
Yeah.
Stafford Swainston, yeah. Trains at Chokdi?
Chokdi, yeah. Blue belt. I think he's going to go far, to be fair.
The thing is, I think York is becoming a lot better now when it comes to capturing martial arts, of expressing martial arts. It's becoming bigger and better, and I look forward to seeing what the future of York will be. And I think one of the gyms that's championing that right now is Chokdi Academy. I think they are. I honestly think that they're championing something, because you've got the head coach Rich Cadden, who's flying out to stuff like going to UFC fights and cornering people. He's gone to ACB, where he's cornering guys down in Australia right this fucking second. In fact, I've seen him on the beach. He took a photo saying, "I've got to add a few hours. I'm going for a tan." Nice. Like it. One thing I will say is we've had a bit of feedback. I'd like to correct ourselves from our last podcast. Madaris Flamnas, he held the amateur welterweight title, which he vacated to then go pro.
I saw that, yeah.
So he was an amateur welterweight title holder. Apologies, Madaris, for not saying that previously. I'd also like to say we mispronounced Ben's name, Ben the Barbarian Farhi. Farhi.
We did it again, didn't we? We did it again.
So he says it. He said it's pronounced like Farhey. That's how he says you should pronounce it. Farhi. That's how it should be pronounced.
Farhi.
I hope that's how it should be pronounced. So I'd like to say sorry, Ben, for mispronouncing your surname previously. But here at the Gentleman's Debate, we are willing to accept that sometimes we are wrong, and we will accept the fact that we need to learn
all the time. Yeah.
In fact, we're wrong. Probably, well, the bit about history and economics, I bet people got pissed about. Got fucking mad.
Because there was so many discrepancies.
Oh, God. And the fucking the amount of different metaphors were used.
General, why does everything have... Well, I guess there is to be a reason why everything has to be absolutely clear-cut, otherwise you're spreading misinformation. But in general, we're trying to get the...
Hashtag fake news.
We're trying to get the overarching thing. We're humans, so of course there'll be... like gaps in our knowledge.
We're fallible.
Bit where, like, for example, the 20,000 years and the 3,000 years, like, there's probably a bit where I've heard that the 20,000 years is a half-life of something, but... So
we're fallible people. Yeah,
so we have Google and we try our best, so this isn't like...
This is what Josh is for. He helps us.
We accept that we know...
We have Wikipedia.
Well, Wikipedia, yeah.
We accept we know nothing, and by knowing nothing, we're trying to explore and figure out something, so then maybe one day we'll know more than we currently do, which is not very much.
True.
Because there's so much to know, and you've got 2,100 and odd terabytes in your brain.
And we're still...
Where do you store it?
And we're basically just still monkeys.
We really are.
We are.
We really are. You
still
can go
do
into
stupid shit.
Aquatic ape theory. We can go into...
Yeah, but we still do stupid shit, like dropping stuff or biting the side of your mouth.
We do. Well, I was talking... I don't know who I was talking to this the other day. Who was I talking to this? In terms of... people's sexual desires and sex drives.
Oh, God, this is going to go dark, isn't it? Fucking hell.
No, not really.
Okay, sexual desires, yes.
The reason why people want to have sex so, like... It's
badly.
like a big drive.
Yes.
It's because you're tricking your mind into thinking you're about to procreate and spread your genes, which isn't actually the case.
Yes. That's why we enjoy it so much.
So once you know that, that's the only reason you really have a drive, but actually knowing that if you do it, you're not going to. Most of the time.
I kind of get what you mean. I think it's like you're like...
So it's like an old evolutionary train of thought, which actually I think is very...
We've got all these underlying
very
things,
destructive.
Mate. Yeah, but we've got all these underlying things. It's like why we're only born with two fears: fear of loud noises and fear of the dark. That's the only two ones we're born with. Everything else is learned for our environment.
Yeah. Well, I was scared.
It means what it does mean is we're scared of things that are loud in the night.
Yeah.
So there's something in our past we genetically predisposed to be afraid of loud things in darkness.
You can grow out of fear, though. I like that because I was deep water used to really fuck with me. Heights, none of that bothers me anymore.
Heights fuck me up. Spiders
doesn't bother me anymore.
That's my phobia.
Hornets. The only thing I'm scared of is hornets.
You get stung by one when you were in Macedonia or not?
No, I just legged it because it was chasing me.
Good.
And that was the reason why. And then my dad was like, "Oh yeah, I was driving a truck like 20 years ago, and it stung me on the neck, and then I nearly passed out. I had to go in hospital."
Fuck, that's scary as shit.
Because apparently three hornet stings could, like in the right place, could
yeah, it's saying that. Do we, Josh? Do we have any funny news articles or not?
Yes, we do.
Could we have the least funny working to the most funny, in your opinion, please? Hopefully there's no repetition like we did previously. It's the return of the funny news article. Sorry, we didn't do it last week.
Yeah, we didn't.
No, we didn't. But I think that's because we were focusing so heavily on Cage Steel 19.
We did, yeah.
We did focus on that quite heavily.
So, the first one.
Yep.
I've got two. Body bag fell out of hearse when it turned at junction.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
Luckily there was no actual body in it.
Oh.
If I'm honest. But It was probably a sight to see.
Empty body bag.
Imagine a poor old lady just pushing a stroller and then a body bag, and she thinks there's a body there. Like, she would have a heart attack.
Imagine if she died, and then they were just well, we'll just put her in the body bag.
She would create a demand for that body bag.
Hey,
lucky we've got one here.
So is this how funeral homes are doing it now, where they basically are just like,
we need more people to die. Medicine's too good.
Oh, that's bad. Cool. That's quite.
Damn.
Oh, I feel bad for them. Everyone who had to see that. Next one.
Yeah. So for this one, I've sent something to the chat.
Oh God.
And we're gonna do a bit of a role play here.
Role play. This is interesting. Role playing.
There we go.
So who wants to?
Right. Let me open up. I'm waiting for it to open, Josh. It's taking a time.
Girls,
it's from. No.
Yeah, you read it.
Go on then.
Read the title.
Read it. Get closer to the microphone though. Don't just read it where you fucking sat. There we go.
Girl gets perfect revenge on creep who tries to sext her with help from Shrek. Oh, it's not Shrek. I love Shrek's life.
I'm still waiting for my phone to actually fucking load this. By the way,
I remember when I had an iPhone 6 that was that slow.
And why don't you two recite the chat for us?
Can I?
Because it's in there.
Okay. So I'm gonna be the sexy girl. That's getting.
I'm sorry. I'm still waiting for this to fucking load up.
Actually, it's taking me a while to be fair as well. And I've got 4G on full blast.
You'd make a good-looking woman.
I really wouldn't. The jawline.
Could you not? I'm sorry, but can you not identify him as a woman? He's a non-binary. I'm
non-binary. I'll have you know I'm a sapiosexual.
Fucking savage. Right, it's not really loaded for me at all. This is terrible.
Load for me. Mickey, is it loaded for you?
I've got full bars and 4G, but it's just saying mirror.
Yeah, I've got Daily Mirror. Hang on, okay. Right, I'll take this. Okay. Right, so let's give the background to it. A woman had to deal with a persistent, disgusting creep via text message, came up with a brilliant way to deflect his advances. In a series of text messages, the woman receives what appears to be a random text from a man called Daniel. His intentions are clear to begin with. The woman plays along, luring him in inverted commas. He seems excited about the proposition of roleplay. Blindfolds are involved.
Right, I'll play the role of Daniel.
To begin with, the man probably thinks he's scored.
I'll play the role of Daniel.
Yeah.
You make a.
So Daniel, can I confirm? Daniel is the guy in white, and I'm talking the one in grey.
Yeah,
I wish I could see that. But.
I know it's shit. I don't know why it's not loading on my phone.
So, you sex chat. Sorry if I made you mad.
Sure, but only if we can roleplay.
Okay, we can.
Good. Lead you to my room in stars.
You're hot as fuck, girl. Damn, not even gonna reply.
Thanks.
You're welcome, baby girl.
Okay.
Kisses you long and hard.
Kisses you back.
That was disgusting, man. You like that, baby girl? Takes off your cloths.
Because he doesn't spell clothes correctly, the dickhead. Right, anyway. Knock on door. But wait, I want to bring in my friend. Is that okay?
Gets hard just thinking about it.
It's get hard, actually, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Blindfolds you, then brings my friend in. Friend slowly kisses you.
Kisses back.
Sorry, I can make that noise quite well. Would you like to take your blindfold off now?
Yes, baby.
But then she plays her trump card. Trump might be a word associated with bad men. And unleashes Shrek. It's an imaginative way to display a sex pest. So it's literally, if you go on the mirror and you search for that article, it's a fantastic one. Oh God, well done, young lady who did this. What's her name? Do we know?
It didn't say it.
It didn't say the lady's name, unfortunately.
She is a genius.
I fucking love that. That is brilliant. Thank you very much, woman from social media who does.
Damn, Daniel.
Back at it again with the white vans.
That's what sex pest needs to get slammed down.
Yeah, by Shrek.
Down on a regular basis.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been podcast number 22.
Yep.
22. It's all
22.
You know, it's all good. You early 20s, it's good. Once we get to about 25, 26, it's all downhill. We should have our shit together by then.
So you guys would know.
Thanks, mate. Mickey's only 24. I'm 26.
Yeah, but I'm 23, so.
Yeah.
Living that young life.
Yeah, it ends really quickly and dramatically. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you, Mickey.
As with you, Simon.
Now, what you can do is you will see us on podcasting apps all over the world. The Gentleman's Debate podcast. Subscribe and make sure you're up to date with it. And if you feel that we've done a good job, then please leave a review and feedback about how you thought it went. We're also on YouTube, so you can actually watch us make funny faces and try to fucking get our phones to load shit, because apparently phones don't work in this building. But also, you can follow us on our social media accounts. Facebook is the Gentleman's Debate podcast. Twitter is @TGD_podcast. Instagram is the Gentleman's Debate. And also, please follow our esteemed friend, Josh Simpson, at York Video Pro on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This has been the Gentleman's Debate podcast number 22. We will see you later, ladies and gentlemen.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Kisses you back.